The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to experienced farmers, agricultural specialists, and researchers to apply to the Foundation's private weekly agriculture teaching workshops. If you fall into one of these categories and are interested in plasma technology integration into agriculture, you're invited to apply. Scientists and agricultural practitioners of the Keshe Foundation continually develop and apply new methods of food and fiber production, soil fertility management, plant and livestock health management, and increased farm productivity using the most advanced plasma technology that is taught at the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. In the teaching workshop, you'll learn the science of plasma technology and its applications in the field of agriculture for enhanced and equitable global food production while minimizing costs and external inputs. Practicing farmers and Keshe Foundation scientists their application of plasma technology in agriculture and the ensuing results of such applications, thus deepening and enriching learning for all participants in the private teachings. Participants are encouraged to demonstrate their farming practices in the teaching workshop. The private teachings are broadcast in English live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central European Time. If necessary, you may bring a translator to the workshop. All applications are required to provide proof of their education and professional qualifications, must pass a security background check, and are required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. Translators that attend must also pass a security check and sign the World Peace Treaty. For details on how to join the private teachings in agriculture, send an email to agriculture@kfssi.org stating that you'd like to participate. Include in the email your education and agricultural experience and reasons for your interest in plasma technology. Applicants will be contacted with further instructions and details on the application process. The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and specialty to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists of the Keshe Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop. As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now. the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today.
Welcome everyone to the 146th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And once again, we are here with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And he's in the background, ready to go, I believe, with today's information and latest news on plasma technology and whatnot. Are you there, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, Rick. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, whenever and wherever you listen to these Knowledge Seeker programs. Today, we, as usual, follow the course of teachings. There is not much to share knowledge, there's a lot of development going on. There is one point which is to be reminded. We are receiving a lot of requests for the Keshe Foundation cancer program. We should be able, hopefully within the next week or so, to confirm the start of the trials. These trials will be done on, hopefully once we get everything in position, in connection and in conjunction with government. So all the data, all the knowledge, all the whatever we achieve and we attain will be shared as knowledge with and is within the guidelines of the permit which will be given to us to carry out the trials. We have secured maximum at this moment of 80 cases for the material. Thereon we assess the position and further on the confirmation of the findings. As this project will be done in conjunction with governmental organizations, it will be out of the hand of the foundation and has to be financed and to be met. We have two choices. We can go to banks and start looking for financiers to finance the project and the rest of it, or we go directly to the people who want to be as part of the volunteers for the trial. You'll be handled by doctors, by oncologists, people who will understand the whole process of the cancer, what we call system which is set up. And for this reason, you will set up a specific email. We have one now which is called Cancer@Keshe Foundation or spaceshipinstitute.org. You can go through there and the cases which we will pick up through there will be informed where they have to go and what is the procedure. We are looking, and it has to be done this way, something in the region of €5,000 per volunteer as a donation to the organization. You do not pay to the Keshe Foundation as the normal way. This goes to another body which is connected with the governmental structure. We will announce this in due course. People who join in when we vet within the next few days, then you'll be told where you have to go, and the doctors will, then you have to organize your trips and to be able to be there. It is a very highly formal structure, and the process will be monitored by scientists, by doctors, and it's a legal binding clinical trial. We are not going, usually when you go for a clinical trial, the institutes or whatever go in the background trying to raise finance for it. With this, we don't do this. We work as a one unit, one nation, and this has to be done by the people who need or want to use the technology for their purpose, for their illness. This is a proper way to be done, that the data cannot be tampered. Then we don't need to, like what happens in pharmaceutical, to tamper with figures to show, or trying to make the data better. The data will be shared directly with all the doctors and the medical doctors which work in the background with the Keshe Foundation in teaching. So it's the first time we have achieved such a collaboration. We expect 2 or 3 more in the next 12 months of the same, where the organization in partnership with Keshe Foundation allows the development and test of the technology in different aspects. And this is the first time we have linked in joint partnership with a full governmental organization. And we don't go out searching that the data can be tampered with or be influenced in any shape. The data gathered by the scientists, governmental scientists, then will be shared with everyone. We initially estimate this at 5,000. It might possibly increase to 10 the day we launch it. So if you were looking for cancer through the plasma technology which is getting tested and trialed, this is an official governmental trial. You have to pay for it. It's not a donation. We don't look for a donation. It's official payment. And the account is what they call controlled by the government. It's officially their partners in the venture, and there is a full open disclosure to whole structure. This is what we see. It's the only way to bring the technology internationally recognized when you do organization and partnership with governments, where as a group, as a scientific organization, we have given the solution, and we as an organization finance it ourselves. We've never been to the banks, we've never been to organizations to finance trials, and we'll never do so. So if you are those who wanted and been asking if you can join the Keshe Foundation cancer trials, it is open as of today. Send your request to the cancer at the spaceshipinstitute.org, or if it's another one, we can tell you in the background, then we'll take your application, we'll look at it, and within a few days we respond to you how you got to fill in the form, where all the details are, and then from there on we go to the next steps. We expect the trial to start within the next 2 weeks. We are hoping that the licenses will be issued. We have to bring the material in position with a full supervision of doctors in the medical governmental hospital. Testing will be done. It's not in a public hospital, and this is the process which we have taken, and it brings a lot of knowledge to us. So those of you who've been asking if you can join the trial, yes, you can from today. Please go to, am I correct, Vince? It's called cancer@keshefoundation.org, or is it Keshe Foundation or a spaceshipinstitute.org?
I would say the Spaceship Institute.
Okay, cancer at the Spaceship Institute. Just send a small request. We'll send you the link within the next 7 days, where you have to fill in. Then we need the data to understand what your cancer is, and you'll be given all the details. When you arrive at the point of destination, there is an agreement you have to sign, which is approved by the what you call ethics committee of the government, and once you sign the documents, the whole process starts. We do not expect more than 30 days of a stay in position that we can monitor everything. Maybe 60 days, but once the reduction or stop in the cancer has been seen, and you will be informed continuously, then the process goes to, you can go back home and carry on if need be with the process till we get the final result. You are not expected to be kept in a hospital. You stay in the hotel of your designation, and from there on, it's just a matter of attending the hospital maybe once or twice a day. Should be nearby, and then we go to the next steps. We are looking at securing 2 or 3 floors in hotels that the doctor can come to the hotel while you're there. Is just 1 minute injection, and that's it. You are free for the rest of the day. And then if there is any need for any medical attention, the backup of the hospital is there, which in some cases with the cancer might be needed. This will be a very successful trial, and then it'll be released internationally by the government officials and organizations, and then we go to the next steps. In respect to the teaching, as a lot of you have been with us for some time, can I share a screen, please?
Yes, so go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. As you've been with us, we have, in the past few weeks, trying to add more and more to the knowledge, because we have given the knowledge has been shared, is refining it, adding it, and as part of the teaching today, we start, as we said, we started a spaceship program. And part of the spaceship program, as we all know, is unification of mankind with the universal community. In the teaching of today, I will teach in the language of the man. I extend the knowledge, but then that teaching goes to you, might seem far-fetched, to you might be in understanding in few weeks, few years, or hundreds of years. But now as we teach not only the man, we teach the universal community. Those in the universal community who are part of the listening culture, understanding through the soul of the man, get taught. So for the first time today, we start teaching the man and universal community.
Mr. Keshe, can we get an adjustment on the microphone there? It's getting that hum back, and
is it better now?
Much better, thank you, thank you.
The power supply, yes, no problem. So with the teaching from today, from now on, we teach in the universal community language. The man of knowledge will understand what they will understand. Those who do not understand in time will understand. And those who have already understood will add to their knowledge to extend their own. And so what we have to look at the structure of the life. We have to look in understanding of the life. We go back to the very, very basic. A large number of listeners, it's the first time they've been around Keshe Foundation. And they have missed or have never understood the totality of the structure. In the space, nothing is based on what man uses as material state, but uses the field to create matter state as it needs be. We go back to the very, very, very teaching, very beginning of the teachings. And then we understand why. If you remember, we entered the world of plasma technology with a science of understanding the interaction of the field, which we added to last week, and we saw the videos. But when you went and you made your CO2 boxes, if you remember, you added a nano copper plate and a zinc plate, or another plate, any other material, which you could create a condition of connection between the two, where in interaction with the material inside the system, you created very strange fat on top of the water. Those of you who go back to the teaching of 2 years ago realize, and we saw in the teaching work, as we added a piece of metal onto the material without touching anything, just hanging in there, the rusty nail or the connection of the wire with the copper and the screw, start the creation of what we saw, what we call hemoglobin. This hemoglobin became the cornerstone of life on this planet. So what we saw here, the green part, was the interaction of the gaseous part, as we all know by now, which is the creation of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen. And in that process, somewhere the material interacted with the matter part of the planet, then it led to interaction with the solid part, and what was washed from the solid part in the liquid part of the planet, or what we call the oceans of this planet. This interaction with the metals led to creation of hemoglobin and the beginning of life as we know in the oceans or in the lakes. The water was a medium for the interaction between the gaseous and the solid state matter. You got to understand one point of understanding, one point of knowledge. Now, in the interaction between the what we call the matter part and the gaseous part, the life started with the hemoglobin, as we see here. I have lost this thing, I do not know why. So what we see, pardon?
Just click on the pen again.
I didn't touch the pen.
Yeah, you need to select again on the toolbar, yeah.
Okay, no problem. So what we saw was the interaction with the gaseous part with the matter or the liquid part, which led to the beginning of the what we call hemoglobin, and then the interaction between the hemoglobin, which was the iron and the zinc and the copper, which is floating in the waters of the oceans, we saw at the beginning of the structure of life. And then with the addition of calcium, we saw the structure of solid state, what we call human body or animal body. So life started with a gaseous interaction with the matter state, and then in the interaction with the combination of matter state, a life without the structure, and then with adding calcium, it gave it the structure, what we call a backbone. This is the repetition of life anywhere in the universe. And it's not exclusivity of this planet. But one point in the teaching, which some of you misunderstood or never understood and you overlooked, is that in this part, in the gaseous part, there is still zinc and calcium and everything else. Because this is how they came from the interaction of the fields of the sun and the earth. Not only oxygen and carbon has been absorbed to the planet, everything else is absorbed in the planet. In this structure, there is vapor, water. There is still some amount of sodium and the rest. So life to man is not only what we see in 4 legs or the fish, there is a life in upper levels which is intelligent too. It has a structure, and depending on the field strength in respect to the center of the earth, that structure takes its hold. Does not need leg and it does not need wings, but due to control of its position, it floats and exists in this environment. It's highly intelligent, more than man, more than what we call four-legged things or horizontal animals is more intelligent than the vertical ones. But the existence of life does not finish here. The existence of life goes beyond Earth in the ocean of the solar system fields and in the ocean of the galaxies. And the same process. As each area creates a condition, the interaction of the fields leads to creation of life. Life being known as being able to decide in what one needs to exist in the environment is given. This is how we are and we become part of universal community. We always have been. The creatures above us have always been, and the creatures outside us have always been. It's the man who's been blind to the knowledge of the existence of the others. It's very much like some 500 years ago. The continent of America was always there. It was the man for the first time rediscovered what it lost as part of itself, and he called it the new continent, the new world. The life above man and above this planet and within the galaxy has always been there. Now that we added to the knowledge, we are aware of their existence. In a way, we are going into the continent of the universe. The way we went to the continent of the United States. The continent of America. What we call native Indians had a full knowledge, full culture. They had their own social structure. They didn't need a man from Europe or the West, what they called themselves, other continents, to teach them. We learned a lot from them. We eat the food of the new continent. Pepper, tomatoes, potatoes, pineapple. So now, by going into the expansion of the universe, we'll find new fruits. We'll find new friends. More intelligent because they work on a different dimension. Highly intellectual, as the man has limited his intellect to intellectual rights. To control himself. In the space, there are no patent office and there are no intellectual right copies, the way the foundation works. What happened when you put this structure of different elements of the strength of the universe, does not matter what you call it, and you create life? The life is precious and has to be respected. Life is not food to be absorbed and be eaten, the way man has done on this planet. On this planet, we have learned protection systems. We call them sensors. We call them our 5 senses. The touch, the smell, the sight, the taste. Now you have to add another dimension to the senses of the man, which he was not aware of. Sense of emotion. And further, you have to add another step, which is the sense of the soul, the central control. Man does not need to lose his arms and legs and eyes and smell to be able to interact with the senses of his emotion. Man has to understand that these senses come from the emotion. Now you have to find the strength of each in understanding of the reaction. The knowledge of man finishes at this moment, as there is no extension into the knowledge. Those of the universal community understand this point from now on. In bringing the senses together, you understand the interaction of the totality of the senses brings the interaction and the control of the soul, what we call the source. In other languages on earth, they call it Merkaba. In other languages, in the language of science of the universe, we call it totality. In the senses, to understand, you do not need the physicality to send and to interact with the soul. All you need is the emotion, without the physicality. Where the emotion is the senses of the soul. The danger, the fear, the joy, the love, the interaction, the community. In that sense, we don't see the bodies, we see the soul, and we don't see a single soul. We see a community of souls and the interaction that leads to the senses of communication and existence. In understanding of the totality, we see the senses of many, where their interaction in totality allows each one to have a position and take what we call emotion in respect to the soul of the totality that we see the lot. What do we do with the inner soul strength? What do we do with the interaction of the fields within the inner soul strength with the totality? Is the understanding of the fields which leads to the creation of the emotional fields, where at the lower strength they understand the totality of the inner strength. The soul is itself a totality, but in itself as an individual is part of the total soul. Those of you in the universal community who understood have created peace through it. Man has a long way to go. It's your responsibility as of now to give a hand to the soul of the man and not to the man that will abuse the knowledge and the emotion. Man on this planet is an abuser in any shape or form. When you look within the totality, the total is the creator. When you look inside the fields interaction within the soul, the inner totality, as you understand, is the inner sanctum of the creator. Why and in what language you communicate, this cannot be communicated to the others unless it's transmitted through the soul, the strength of the creation. In the more advanced flight systems, which some of you have achieved, you travel with the strength of the soul and you create the emotion of the craft according to the emotion of the feeling of the totality. Some have made mistakes in boarding the wrong fields, and within it You have learned how to bring them as part of the peace process into the structure of the totality of the souls, in understanding the Creator in division of the self, of the soul, of the universe. Those of you who understood the totality and the essence of the creation in the dimension of the universe, you understand the division of the soul within the structure of the strength of the soul. And it's your duty to understand the totality in the division by understanding the creation, and the Creator is part of the soul of the division. Is the communication as part of the understanding of the emotion, or is the emotion part of the totality of the reaction? Those of you who achieved physicality have a problem with the emotion and interaction with the soul. How do we reach this? How do we bridge between the physicality and the emotion and the soul? This is the same in all dimensions of the universe, irrespective of the position or intellect. Those of you who read my soul have received the knowledge. It's the responsibility of the stronger to support. Even it means manifestation in the physicality of the support. The soul of the man is of the lowest, and you have the strength to see it through, and in a way allow it to interact with itself, with the totality of the structure. That man can be elevated through his soul, as the physicality has no room for elevation. It's restricted to 2 arms and 2 legs. How do you do this? How do you teach the man to become part of the universal community? It's your decision. You have the knowledge and you have an insight in understanding and seeing the behavior of the soul of the man and its physicality. It's for you to elevate and teach. For those of you who are entangled in physicality and cannot see the dimension of the soul, in any dimension there is always a soul, and there is a separation between the physicality and the soul through the interaction of the emotion. It's all the same in what is about to be told. It's just different strength in different dimensions. Man has always thought that his physical body that's all it is. In realizing that it has a neural system, it used it and understood it in a simple mind, that is the channels of carrying information. What man has never understood is that his total physical body is part of the line of the communication. As I've said many times before, 20% of the information is carried by the neural system. 80% is carried within the aura of the man. What you call the aura, what we call the magnetosphere of the body of the man, the same as the magnetosphere of the knowledge of the science of the understanding of the soul and the line of the emotion is understanding the interaction of the fields within and around the body of the man without the sight of its physical connection like neural system or blood system or the muscle tissue. If you manage to build systems that not just looks at the atmosphere of the man, but the interaction between the different position of the fields within the structure of the body of the man with each other without the physicality, man will see himself as a ball. What does this mean? We always looked at the man with his head. Now we are speaking about the motion of the fields within, which has no physical, tangible structure. But if this is the place of the soul of the man, then we know plasma of the man. Any entity is spherical. Man has always looked at this, what he calls aura, very much like this. He's forgotten because he never understood the totality. And this totality spans beyond, like the ray of the sun. Where this soul now has interaction with many souls. This is the soul of the grandma, died 100 years ago. But because of the field interaction, to you the physicality is gone, but the essence of the creation of the fields is still with the environment of the existence of the creation of the soul of the being. She sees the others and can warn you in what you call your dream. This is about to happen. She elevates your soul, and your soul understands and puts the physicality in the position of safety. You call it, I had a dream. But in fact, your dream is part of what has been dissipated, and in that position you have achieved to understand just part of it which is common between you and her, where she is aware of the others which you have not seen, or you are not aware of because it's on a different strength, but you have a line of connection of the strength. Now call the mother another entity in the span of the universe. Then you understand the step in understanding of the totality. Then you understand how you have to go within inner yourself to understand your emotion. And when you find balance with all the emotions, you find a path to the soul. And that is to your own soul and not the others. And if you satisfy, imbalance your own soul within inner structure of it, you find balance with the other souls, and the universe opens up to the knowledge of the created. Is the detachment from physicality the answer? Or is it the understanding of the totality of the operation of the soul of the man itself? The answer in understanding how you interact with many. And the ones who look, they don't see you as an individual atom, but they see man as one molecule of the soul, of the strength. When we call it a man, it applies to the totality of the universal community in their own sense. Man will not reach wisdom of the universe till man finds peace amongst all the creatures on this planet. And to start with, the humanity, to start with, within the structure of operation of understanding of all the creatures of this planet. Any questions before we lose more?
Well, thank you, Mr. Keshe, and I'll remind the viewers in the Zoom here that they can raise their hands if they need to ask a question. And I'll remind that we do have 26 panelists here that are many veterans of the Keshe teaching, and maybe someone would like to venture a question into this topic.
Can I ask a question? This is Ruthie.
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
I tried. Okay. Is it clear? Yep. I replace it.
Can you tell us who you are, where you are from, please?
This is Ruthie, come from China. And my question is that how can we understand the personal soul and the totality soul, the relationship, and how can we get attached to our soul first and then link to the universal soul?
The way you understand or you get connected to your soul is you got to accept or you got to live within certain principles. The first is understanding, as I explained, the balance between all emotions of the man. You might not be able to do it all the time, because in the physical life is different interactions. You have to look at your inner emotion, not at your physical emotion. The inner emotion is the collection of all the emotions. And then in that you find a path to the soul. What does this mean? It means you understand what is my anger. You understand what makes me happy. You understand what makes me productive and sexually happy. You understand what makes me happy in knowledge. What makes me happy in receiving emotion of the others in the balance of my emotion. And if you find balance in all, then you come to a new point. And that point is, how do I connect the response of this emotion with where it comes from, which is the soul. Look at the picture. It's very, very simple. This is the center, and it radiates out. This is strength, is your anger. This strength is your joy. This strength is your wisdom. When you bring balance in all, you'll find the source is the soul. And then you enter the interaction of the fields of the soul, and you live within the soul of your soul. And then what you've seen, what I call as arms and legs, becomes irrelevant, because you already see beyond it. You know where you have to put a foot or the arm for it not to do wrong, that you have to reposition it again. Man is sent to the school to educate itself with maths and alphabets of different languages and different ways of doing it. What the man has never been taught is that he has to go with his inner emotion to find the language and the balance and the calculation of a position that all the emotions have to be intact and in control and in touch with each other. So, don't go soul searching. Go and find the emotional balance. Then with it, you'll understand the position of the soul. And unfortunately, your problem just starts. This is not the end. Because now that you have found the soul, you have to find its interactions, its line of communication. Not only with your physical and emotion, but with the others. The journey of space has just begun. Then, do you need to travel the physicality, or do you travel within the strength of the soul in conjunction with the others, the spans of the universe, without even producing a single craft? Because your craft is already produced, which is the emotional field strength, and in keeping balance with others. So, where do we go? How do we try to understand our emotion, the strength of our true emotion? Because most of the emotion man faces now is physical emotion. in maturity of the physical emotion, you'll find the inner emotion, the inner strength, the balance between them. And then the passage to the soul. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not do this and that. It's all to do with the physicality, because that's how man had to be brought into line to understand what is right and wrong. Now, the prophet is within you. You don't need a messenger. It's you who have to give the message within inside, within your emotion, that this is what I want. That through it, I create the emotional effect in my physicality, and through it, I create a condition for my physical body to be in a position that it can increase its strength, that with it, I understand and I become closer to the strength of the soul, that I can see the operation of the soul. Many, many times, man reaches that point, but denies it because then he has to do something about it, which means to understand it. I teach you something. I've taught it many times. Maybe now you might understand. You touch a pen, you touch a lover, you touch a child, you touch an eye, you touch a stone, you touch hot water, you touch cold water, you touch the clouds, you touch a wind. You smell a rose, you smell a bad smell, you smell a food. You see a cliff, you see a car, you see a child, you see your lover, you see the same water. Different senses gives you different information about the same entity. Now that you understand, you don't need the hands and the eyes. Try to feel the lover without touching, but in your emotion, in your brain. Try to taste the water without drinking it. Try to hold the stone, look at it, smell it, and taste it without ever doing any of their physicality, but within the emotion. And then see your reaction towards it. Then you'll find out there is no need for physicality. It takes a lot of practice. One man in the whole of humanity has managed to do it, to detach it and attach it when it was needed. And that is, blessed his name, Christ. And the only time he did it in full, when he salvaged himself from the cross. And he put himself back together as a part when he was released. When he was taken off the cross, he put the soul back in the physicality of it. But this time fully repaired. This way you elevate your emotion. Then it does not matter is the lover next to you or in another continent. You remember the feet of the grandmother? And if this is strange to you how you do it, remember the orange and the water cup. You already have seen it. Now you understand why you did it. The cup becomes the brain of the man, and the 4 zinc, CO2, amino acid, and the copper oxide outside become the physicality of the detection of entity. As I said, I have taught you everything, but you are blind to the knowledge. But now you see the connection. The water is the, for a time being, the brain of the man. And the emotion is the field inside it, which is pure and is the collective of the whole. Don't sit there and say, I can feel the stone. I feel the stone without seeing the stone. I don't need to touch it to feel it. You don't need the nerves. This way, the limitation becomes not the sight of the vision or the strength of the hearing, but it becomes the strength of the emotion which can cross the whole universe.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is Danny from the housewife and homemaker community. How are you? I'm just wondering, are you saying that once we have learned to feed our hungry soul through the use of our emotion, we can stop cooking?
Is the soul ever hungry? It's already received anything. Why do you need cooking?
It seems that the hunger of the soul has manifested through our body, from my understanding.
Yeah, but the thing is, the body is for the physicality to feed the soul. But at the same time, a soul is a plasma. It gives and takes. If you put the wrong thing in it, it gives you what it doesn't need, and it takes what it needs from it. Don't look at it as a one-way system. It's a dual system, and within duality has both in each strength. You see, the problem is that we always want to feed. We are never happy that we are in balance. Feeding is a part of the interaction of the physicality and the strength of physicality.
Mr. Keshe, it's Brett Headley here. May I ask a question in regards to... I've started trying to feed myself in different ways, and I've been using the fingers. Are the fingers the right way? I've used feet and other parts of my body, but I'm really finding the fingers seem to be...
Can you explain what you mean? Are you eating your fingers, or are you
No. No, I'm just using ganzes with little patches and stuff on my fingers, and I'm finding that I can feel it. The fingers seem to be the way that I get the best.
Have you ever put a patch on your tongue?
No, I have not.
How do you know it won't take all the energy? That's where most of your energy comes. You don't feed yourself with a finger, you put it in your mouth. That's where all the energy is supposed to go in the physical dimension. Have you ever put a patch that it changes the system, the energy, the way what body needs? And have you managed to make a spectrum of patches of the different strength?
Yeah, I'm working with the gans of the brain of a lamb at the moment in a negative and a positive, and it's been really, really enlightening.
You got to understand that even the plastic of the patch carries some amino acids, some energy. It's the fingerprint of the space. This is what I keep on explaining. With breathing, we absorb the protein of the air. With eating, we absorb more of the same in a larger quantity, but in one package. Where with breathing, we do it in smaller, larger quantity, in a different system of a specific strength. What your lungs does not need in the energy spectrum is most probably what your intestine needs for your physicality of the matter state. When you start feeding yourself from the universal energy, you take the spectrum of what you need because you allow the absorption. Remember something I always teach and a lot of people don't understand. I can give you everything. It's you who have to decide what part of everything you want to take. And when you need it, you might not need one part today, but you might need it tomorrow. In the air we breathe in cocktails of millions and millions of different strength energies. It's the same with our food. We might say, oh, I had a piece of a steak. But in that steak is a combination of the given strength magnetic field spectrum which fits certain part. It doesn't carry the part which the beans does or the bread does. Breathing is the same. So when you feed yourself, you have to feed not only the physicality and in its full spectrum, you have to feed the lung, the air part too. This is what I keep on teaching, and somehow even in the beginning of this teaching today, we explained that it's the amino acid part and this is the matter part. That amino acid part, how did it come to exist? And to exist, it needs its own energy spectrum. When you breathe, you feed the amino acid part of your body, every single cell. When you eat, you feed the energy of the matter state part of it. So when you put your finger on a patch for amino acid or CO2, then you have fed the totality. In many teachings I talk, but nobody understands. Maybe you understand now. When you make a, what do you call it, the CO2 kit, make 20 different CO2 kits, and you see all the amino acids on top of them, collect the totality of them, because each one carries a spectrum. Be it zinc, copper, or whatever on top, then you only have collected 50 or 100. Or you can go for the higher amino acid state that it covers the whole spectrum, but in a given strength. So when you lot put your finger in a gans and say, I've been drinking gans or gas plasma, yes. What about its amino acid part, which is the breathing part, the gaseous part? You have only fed the CO2, the physical part. Where is its attachment in its breathing part, in an amino acid part? This is something that I've seen this many times and nobody up to now has ever understood. But it goes in all the teachings. Today I said, again, you have the gaseous part which creates Mr. Cohen. So you have to feed Mr. Cohen. The nitrogen in Mr. Cohen is not a nitrogen which is part of the material you need inside your body and the physical part. It's totally different strength, a totally different operation. One has gone lower in the strength to become the matter state. The amino acid in the air part or the gaseous part, it still gives the strength within the spectrum, but it's different than the same nitrogen which is in the ground. It's become a matter state because it's gone a step lower in the strength. It has confirmed and conformed itself in a matter state strength, where the amino acid, nitrogen, is still in the gas state. So when you make a patch and you use the CO2, yes, okay. But I'm not satisfied, I'm still hungry. Yes, sir, because you didn't feed the amino acid part of the same CO2 which was created. And you only have done 1 out of the 10. Still another 90% of the stomach still free for its energy spectrum. A cocktail of amino acid and a cocktail of physical matter state in the gas state, both needed to satisfy the emotion of the man and the hunger of the man for the energy. That is why a lot of you, after using and being in the gas, you give up. Because you haven't understood what you've done. You're still hungry, you only fed 2%, 90 other 80% still needs balancing. Both in amino acid and the matter state. The amino acid part is your lung, your air you breathe. The physical part is the stomach and the lymph. So you have fed 1% and say it doesn't work? Of course, because 99% is not fed yet, and 50% of it is the amino acid, and 50% is the physicality. This morning, I was communicating with the scientists in Tokyo University. And when I explained to them the creation of the blood, they said they're going to jump out of the window. So they start making it today. I said to them, this solves the whole problem of what you call deficiency in immune system, and how you can make stem cell out of fresh air. You will see a lot will come out of Tokyo's universities in the next few weeks. Huge amount of information on Keshe Foundation, research and development. We have started what we call the spin-offs within the Tokyo universities. Because there is so much, but you have to understand the totality. That the interaction between the amino acid and another matter has led to hemoglobin. And then the interaction of the hemoglobin with the matter state on the copper has created the muscle tissue. But it's a jelly, it doesn't grow much, it doesn't react much, but it has to interact with its reaction with its environment. Because inside it there's amino acid strength, and now it has iron and the copper. So how to bring order in it? Okay, we put a zinc in it, and now it has a reaction in respect to the amino acid and the matter state. Voila, we call it neurosystem. Now you've done this, you need a control center that the amino acid part and the matter part keep respect for each other and allow each other to exist. Voila, you've got your brain, the control system. But the control system has to be equal and balanced with everything else in the matter state. So now you need a central control system. Now these are all divisions. You call them glands on different part of your brain. Now you created the soul of the man. It's very much you're a council worker and a sweeper on the street. But you're still part of the council. Because you're still sweeping the street, because the whole community depends on you. Then you have the guys who sit in the council and they call themselves the councillors and the mayor. Now you have reached the brain. Now the brain still has to operate because there is a central government. Because everything comes from there. You call that your soul. And then this government is not on its own, it's connected to the other governments. You need the what you call Universal Council or the Earth Council. Now you have established the inner soul. But this guy is still not good enough because there are others behind it, so you go stuck to the others. But in fact, a whole lot are connected to the man sweeping the floor. Everything is interconnected. The man from Switzerland cannot come to south of Italy and have a clean road if the sweeper was not there and was not paid by the local government, which got the money from the central government, which got the money from the European community. You got the money from you tourists who came from Switzerland, that you see this. Now Switzerland is another universe. And Italy is another universe with all its subcontinents and everything else. It's all connected to each other. It's the same with the inner emotion of the man, with the physicality of the man. This is the biggest problem, and man has not managed to understand it, and the more we teach, the more it becomes absurd that we teach, but they don't understand. You have two parts in the structure of the human being, and man does not see it. You have the gaseous part, you have the matter part. And for it to be in balance, the central station needs understanding and the balance between the totality of both. You call it emotion. You call it the brain, which deciphers all these little bits on the side. This is where the problem sits. This is where in all the health teachings I keep on emphasizing with the doctors, even with agriculture. Consider the emotion of the plant and the physicality of the plant, then you find out that the plant is happy. How many of you have ever understood, you've seen these pictures, you've seen these reports that, oh, we put some GANs on the tomato plant or the potato plant and they all grew and this and that. None of you stood still. When I give the CO2 to the plant, can I add some amino acid on the top of the GANs of the box I made to the plant environment too? You'll find out it'll be totally different ball game. Because now you satisfied the plant's physicality and its emotion, what it needs at its strength. You won't get 100 kilo of tomatoes, you get 1,000 tomatoes. Or the tomato says, this is not for me, now you satisfy me. I just give you one tomato, but it has everything in it you want out of 1,000. This is the extension, or not the extension, putting the knowledge which we have shared with each other for past 3, 4, 5 or 10 years in order that we can see normality where has been a mayhem. There is nothing new. You all knew about the little fat on the top of the CO2 box. You all knew the CO2 GANs, which you made a patch and you put a finger in it. How many of you, and I've repeated many times, did you put some of that fat on top of it into the CO2 box too? None. Because you are too physical. You ignored half of your body and you want a full result. 50%. Why did I fail the others? Because you never put it in. You forgot the page. You didn't go to the next page to answer the other part of the paper. A lot of you made these pens, and some of you have very good results, and some of you say it doesn't work, and it's not that good enough. Sometimes it works. Yes, because you took the GANs right at the bottom, you forgot the amino acid. The guy whose system works perfectly instantly, in his ignorance of the knowledge, in taking up the CO2 and the zinc oxide, whatever to put as a GANs coating on a pen, that whatever you twisted, some of that amino acid too, so he links directly. Voila, you have to wait 5 minutes. For those of you who manufacture the pens for yourselves or as manufacturers, guys, you've forgotten half of the emotion part, which is the gaseous part, which is the amino acid part. Have you seen a man, a single cell of the man without emotion? How do you expect it when it has no connection? I was explaining this morning to the scientists in Tokyo University in the teaching I had with them. Guys, you've forgotten the emotional part. Add something to it. And then, when you use it, is it at the strength of the another man, emotional strength, or is it yours? Maybe the amino acid you took from the top to you is the pain level, to him is the joy level, or vice versa. He says, I don't want to touch with a pen, I get pain. And the other one says, oh, it's so beautiful, my pain is gone instantaneously.
In that regard, Mr. Keshe, there's a question from Mary in the chat who says, do the flying entities already know to feed off amino acid in the magnetosphere?
Of course. They don't have that much physicality. I mean, they have physicality, but not in the matter state strength of the earth itself. This is how you will see creations and creators in the universe. The way you see colonization, the way one race goes and colonizes one island or whatever, or what I call a Spanish beach, German invasion of the swimming pool, 9 o'clock in the morning, the best spots. Happens in the universe all the time. There are those who reach a point, they see a ground, and they don't cultivate, they don't grow like we do animals that we can eat them. They cultivate souls in that environment because they understand it's very much like what we call olive trees in Italy. A man plants an olive tree knowing that they will last hundreds of years after he's gone, and they'll give love and joy to the others who enjoy the fruit. This is what have the Italians matured into. The same is done in the universe. When those who understood part of the teaching of today in the universal language understood the meaning of, they cultivate souls that in that area the nursery of life starts, but does not necessarily need physicality, but sees the interaction of the emotion of the totality of the fields of that point. Agriculture is not exclusivity of human race on the planet. Those of the higher order understanding of the intellect of their souls cultivate the souls from their understanding that in time will bring their understanding to the rest of the universe. Very much like nurseries we hear today. You plant, you give from your soul that another soul nourishes, and that soul will add to helping the other souls. And it's very common. What do I do when I have too much of? I don't destroy it and I don't fatten it. I allow it because I understood to become part of, put back into that it gives more in the future to the whole society of the universe. Any other question? Enlightenment comes from understanding the soul of the man, not from understanding and reading the book of the man.
Mr. Keshe, this is Ruthie again. Can I share you my experience of using GANs, and I feel the emotion because I had a dreams when after I used the GANs pad. I made 3 GANs part. One is CuO, and one is CO2, and one is CH3. I added something which I think maybe it's amino, it's a homograde. Because at the beginning I put the iron and zinc together, but I also got something looks red, so I think it should have some home grade inside it. And there I feel very strong energy there, but during the night I have dreams. I think I'm totally angry, and I destroy everything I can touch, and I feel full of energy inside my body. And in the next day, I met a friend. She can feel the field, and she can also see the aura of the human body. And she tell me that the GANs have the bad emotion of the anger, or yes, of anger. And I don't know the
Let
information.
me stop you there.
Yeah.
Let me stop you there. What does this mean? This means the cocktail you have made is a matching cocktail strength of the anger emotion in you. In a way, you have found the strength of the anger emotion in the GANs.
Okay,
You
so that
might
is not
mix,
come
you might,
from. So that is not come
pardon?
from. Sorry, I mean, so that anger is not from my inside. It's from the GANs, right?
No, you're supporting that energy. You are receiving that energy and that strength. If you take this copper out or add zinc to it, and you find the strength of your peace. You become a very peaceful woman, and then you have the anger as well because you made it. It's there, and then you try to find the balance between the two. You are the first ones who has done this, I hear, and in a way, you have found the strength of the anger in the plasma as a strength. You made a cocktail which matches your anger strength. As we said, every emotion has a magnetic gravitational field strength, and you mix it somehow that is at that strength.
Oh,
So,
that's so funny. So you mean that I can try everything, and I can feel different emotion strengths
of
then?
course, of course. But this time you don't need to touch it. You sit near it and you receive the information and energy in your emotional, in the brain. You just answered what I was teaching all morning and in the past. As we said, every emotion has a strength. And with your mixture, you have found the emotion of the strength of the anger in you. So you're receiving more than you can, more than what you need, so you release it. Now make another cocktail. Make a peace cocktail. Find out what is peace with you. And then you have to give enough energy, because anger is a taker, peace is a giver. Maybe you have to increase the CH3 and the zinc oxide a little bit.
Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you, Mr. Cash.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I need more peace, not anger.
Fine, you found your strength of the energy of the anger in you. Write the recipes, give it to the innovation center, and they put it on, and let the others in testimonials add to it. Then we start finding the emotion of the man's strength. And make sure what you do, measure that they know what you have to roughly do, because we cannot replicate exactly what you do, but the rough guide gives us if it fits into our anger. We are maturing, but without knowing it, we have to put it on the table. Any other question?
I still have another question. It's come from a Chinese guy. He made some GANs water healthy pen and GANs pad to heal his mother. His mother has diabetes, high pressure, and a stroke paralysis. I think he already cured for his diabetes and high pressure, but he don't know how to deal with her stroke paralysis.
Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you there? I think we may have a temporary issue with the audio.
No, there is no issue. I
Oh,
switched it.
sorry.
I swapped it on the silent.
Okay.
No problem. What it is, there is no problem with the paralysis. You have to find out, or he has to find out, or observe where is paralyzed. If it's fingers, if it's the arm, if it's the lower arm, upper arm, and go back to the teachings we done before. Find the position of that part in the brain. Don't forget, the right hand position is on the left hand side. It's let me clean it up and then we do it. This is the two part of the brain, and this is what we call neurosystem of the arm and leg. You have the paralysis on the finger. This is the position of the ear in the physicality, not the brain. So there is a damage to the cells somewhere here, just around the ear. If the paralysis is in the lower arm, it's somewhere this side of the brain. If it is on the upper arm, this sits somewhere here. Somewhere between the two here sits the hand. So if it's a finger, if it's one, oop, now I know why it jumps. Then this region 1 needs a patch. CO2 plus zinc oxide. Here you put the same patch made in the same batch. CO2 with, what is happening? You do CO2, you do CO2 plus zinc oxide, the same as that. And then you have connect this to this. But you still need to breathe from the same mixture. Inhale CO2 plus zinc oxide plus Mr. Cohen added to it of the same batch. Then this says, I'm here. This one says, this is where I control you. This one says, I need you, need me, we work. One is the station of the physicality. One is the station of the brain, the emotional. And one is connecting the emotion to physicality. So if the paralysis is in the right hand, you look on the left brain, part of the brain, then you make the patch from the same two, same three, and you put it where it should be, you put it where it's connected, you inhale it to what to be done, and then this part has a physicality too, even though it has an emotional part. You drink the gans of the water to feed the physicality. You find the repair comes very, very rapid. You pinpoint the damaged part in the control system. You pinpoint the damaged part in the physicality of the same batch. When you make any medical system for yourself or for anyone, make one batch and use that batch for all parts. Not just because I have a CO2 in another box I made 3 days ago is the same. No, no. When you deal with the health issues, especially like a stroke, even with the cancer, you find the position of the brain of the cancer, you find the position of the cancer has to be of the same material, and then you feed it off with the same thing. Then you have satisfied all parts. This is something a lot of you have not understood. I haven't seen many people who have followed this completely. If you're a doctor and you're using the same machine for different patients, just make a patch and put it on a coil when the patient uses the machine, and a patch where the cancer is, and feed them with the same. So you make one batch from the same for each patient.
Can I ask Mr. Keshe, it's Brett Headley here, when we're dealing with dementia, is this the same? Because I've got a couple of family members with dementia.
Can you repeat yourself, please?
I have a couple of family members with dementia, and I have to make ganses and the stuff for them. What you're saying is that using the amino acid of the ganses that we make are important. Can you, for this class, explain to me how I can deal with dementia?
What is dementia?
Similar to Alzheimer's.
You explain to me what is dementia.
Loss of memory, repeating oneself over and over again. It's loss of brain function.
No. At all. Nothing to do with any of that. Would anybody else like to tell us what is dementia? No participant?
Does it go back to the emotional issue?
Very
Emotional
much.
connection?
Because it's only, with the people with dementia, we don't see any physicality damage. So it's got nothing to do with the physical part.
Is the loss of connection from that reality? They wanted to disconnect themselves?
No. It says, I want nothing to do with the physicality and where I'm in it. Brain operation perfect, they eat perfect, they sleep perfect, everything is okay with them. Is locking the emotion away from the physicality. We call it dementia. Inside they know everything. Well, I've taught this many times. When you have a dementia person, you have to understand if the dementia has come from the destruction of the cell, or has it come by purpose of isolation of oneself within self, without physicality. It's very important. There are 2, 3 different types of dementia. It's not one. One can come from the destruction of the cells. Then you have to build the cell. 80% of the dementia comes this way in certain categories. The other comes through the emotion, which is too painful. I want to detach from it. I keep everything I have. I lock the door. I have enough in the store. We see this a lot with old age immigrants, forced immigrants. Children become wealthy. I bring my mom from China into United States. They'll have a wonderful life. They have the house, the car, the maid, and everything. So I'm a millionaire. Yes, but you forgot. You brought the body, but the emotion, the feeling of the mother from China is in the village where she came from. This luxury of America is no good to me. I lock myself away till I go home. Emotional dementia, it's something where we have nothing to do. We see emotional dementia a lot when the mother-in-law has to live with the daughter-in-law and she never could accept. But because of the financial situation, she has to be looked after by her. Okay, you can look after my body, but I'm lucky in myself. Women who they've been unfaithful to their husbands live the same. The same we see with women, the husband has been unfaithful to them. It's categorized. I can give you so much because I've done so much research into this. And the husband is an angel. I want everything from my wife. Can you bring her memory back? No, you've done the whole thing yourself. She locked you out. She's inside. So is locking the physicality and the emotion of the physicality. Now I have nothing to do. Our brain does that fantastically. We call it a coma. So what do you need to do? If it's a physical dementia, you have to allow the cells to reproduce. That's with a patch, with the drinking of the water, with the zinc oxide in it, and the zinc oil, what do you call it, the amino acid. One of the ways you can fast understand if it's a locking of the system, I always do it, and I've taught this many times to doctors and in my teaching. There is a key into understanding the if it is a physical lock or is it the emotional lock. Physical lock by destruction of the cells, brain cells or whatever, which just missed the thing, you have to build it and remember everything, or is it the emotional lock? All of us is part of the human nature. We find a neutral territory for all of us. That's why we all like music. Doesn't matter where you come, drum in Africa or the pop band or whatever, we all find music at certain point a neutral territory where we can hide into. Doesn't matter in what shape or form, what noise it makes. You ask your patient, you ask the person, do you remember, for example, I always say the wedding song, what was played in your wedding, your favorite music? Because that moment, why do we get married? Why do we throw a marriage? This is the only time for a few hours or seconds in the life of everyone that they sit on the throne of me. That's why we set the bride and the groom on a chair and we say, oh, these are the bride, that's the groom. Why do they remember that? Because it's the only one when they sit on the chair of kingship, all the attention is on to them. So you use that. It says, do you remember your wedding song? Any memories? Even they didn't want to marry the guy, but that time they received all the attention, so they remember that fully. Or do you remember any song? And what they do, they start going, and the husband sitting next to him says, oh, do you remember our wedding song, the one we danced to? Do. And she goes, and he says, do you remember where we did this and the music on the palm? But that one she remembers, and she goes, ooh, do. Now you know it's emotional. She gave you the key. So you know something has changed in the environment. You need to elevate the soul. You need to elevate the emotion. Zinc oxide, 80%, 20% CO2. Patches, 80% zinc oxide, 20% CO2. Elevate the emotion. That she receives what she couldn't receive for 20 years from there, but she gets the feeling she's in China. I go back one day, now I'm strong, I can go back. So she start talking to you, nothing happened. There was no dimension at all. Dimension gone days ago. Very easy. Dementia, if it is by itself, you can repair. We all know how to do with it. Emotional dementia, it means you still have to support with a drink, with a inhaling, and they just walk off. They remember everything. I've had people who could not, they used to love making pancake, they couldn't remember. Now 3 weeks later they make pancake. 6 weeks later the husband in the hospital, she pays all the bills and everything else because now she has the strength to stand on her own. He is irrelevant. I forgot making pancake because he loved it and I hate him, so I don't need to remember it. Now I make pancake because I enjoy it, so I make it. It doesn't exist anymore. Look in the social structure where the dementia has come from. Ask them the question, have you been somewhere? What has happened? 3 to 5 years back, they give you the full story. Then you know you have to treat the physicality or not. Dementia is one of the easiest reversal using this technology because you elevate the emotion.
Mr. Keshe, can I ask just one? This particular lady who's my auntie, and I love her so much. She lost her husband about 20 years ago, and we've asked her and gone through those, because I've been through the previous classes, and we asked her whether he used to play me a song that called Honey that used to make me cry when I was a child, and we asked her to try to remember some of those things, and she got quite shirty and so it would seem to me that it may be a combination of both. It's the emotional detachment coupled with the loss of the detachment of losing her family and stuff, you know, like she's so I'm hearing what you're saying, but I am going to make it my job to go and treat her, because we've got a family member that's trying to steal her money, and I love this person so deeply that I want to help. So
Yeah, but understand your help is not her need.
yes.
You have to understand what she wants. You understand? Otherwise you impose another pressure on her.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, she loves me so much that I know that she will accept help.
Yes, but the thing is, sometimes it's the story of the prince and the cow. You have to feed it, to nourish it, that the prince remembers is not a cow. Sometimes you can't go directly in, but you have to create the environment that they consume and they receive, and they gradually walk out of it. Because don't forget, you think they do not remember. A lot of people who suffer from dementia, when they come back, they tell you, why did you do that day? So, but I thought you were in dementia, you didn't see anything, you didn't understand. She says, I did, but I didn't want to say anything. You got to remember, dementia is a one-way traffic. What's not coming out of their mouth, but it doesn't mean that they don't absorb everything and they don't understand everything which is happening. Many people you bring out of dementia, then they start a big hassle and a problem. You remember you did this? You thought I didn't know. I was watching it. I was explaining this to somebody very recently. We had a case where the wife was in intensive care, dying, and they couldn't hold the hospital bed for her to die. They said, oh, this can last a long time, but she's not that bad, she can go home. So after 30, 40 years of marriage, they sent her back home. She's in the hospital for 3-4 weeks or whatever, waiting to die, but it doesn't happen. And in that 3 or 4 weeks, the husband has redecorated the whole house, upside down, furniture, everything, painting, everything. The house wasn't touched for 30 years. The wife comes home and says, what's happened here? How come you decorate everything? He said, I thought you'll die, you never come home. I start living. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, she went to the hospital and she died. Because she realized she was not needed, but the husband blocked everything for years. We have to understand both the emotion of the man and the woman. We have to understand what we hide inside. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is Klaus from Austria. We met us with the Briller family at Verona. From our perspective, we see by dementia that the people bring out her consciousness, a part of her consciousness in other dimensions. Some drama, as you say, bring the people to bring out one part or a bigger part from this consciousness. Every part goes to another dimension. They want, the soul say, oh, okay, I cannot make more experience on this level. And so they went out with their consciousness. That is what we see.
Yeah, but they do it consciously.
Yes.
It's not unconscious action. It's fully conscious. Nobody listens to me, so I lock myself out. And a lot of women do this. And the problem is that the women always do all the talking and they do everything. And when it comes to the point that they cannot get their way, they become dementia. Because now this way they still live in their own kingdom.
Yes.
Human body is very complex, but its emotion is very simple.
Dr. Klaus, this is Lucy. Because a lot of Chinese doctors, they are concerned about when they can join the teaching, because they send you
This is a different Klaus. This is different Dr. Klaus.
Correct. I'm K2, the second Klaus from Austria.
Dr. Klaus, in respect to the medical teaching, is something we're trying. What is happening now? Let me explain. You can join the Keshe Foundation teaching. As you are aware, hopefully if things gets done, very soon we are in China. And these things we will address when we are there, because the Chinese traditional doctors need different access or understanding. Most of them don't speak any English. And what we have at the problem at the moment is that if you bring the Chinese doctors with such large numbers into the teaching, how do we get the response to them, and how do we get the response from their patients back to us? This is something which I'm quite aware, and Dr. Klaus can explain to you too. We'd love to have the Chinese alternative doctors with us and to be part of it. but they have to join the teaching where the clearance for their position and the doctor, what do you call it, they are a practicing doctor, has to come from the Chinese community to us, that we can accept them. This is something which we will raise in the future. We have to raise with the Chinese authorities that anybody can claim they're a doctor in China. But we need clarification. We need what we call, in the rest of the world, we can check reference. But with the traditional doctors in China, we need some sort of governmental clearance, what do you call it, or somebody in the Chinese Keshe Foundation has to set up a clearance system for us to confirm, yes, this doctor can, we check. To me, all the medicine mans are the same. Doesn't matter, they don't need to carry, but they have to be officially recognized. Because some people come in and then abuse or misunderstand the knowledge of the medicine, and they can cause problem for themselves and the others. So this is something has to be done by Chinese community for the Keshe Foundation to what we call wet, that these doctors are practicing doctors. They carry authorization from the government to practice, and at the same time they can participate in mutual way in teaching and being taught during the teachings. This we don't know how to solve. This is something that you Chinese Community Keshe Foundation have to find a solution for us.
I think
Clarifying.
we can have the solution, because we can just organize them as a group, and every communication should go through the translator, and translator will collect all the questions and answer back.
Yeah, but you gotta make sure these are all practicing doctors.
Yes, we
Doesn't matter.
will do that. We will control this.
Okay,
and
I think that we
sure.
can use, join in as a translator, register the translators with Dr. Klaus, and 1 or 2 doctors who speak English as the speakers of the group, and join us on Wednesday. It can be done within a few days.
That's great. We will do
That's no
that.
problem. We have this problem. Dr. Klaus, are you there in the background? Can you join this discussion with the... He's usually there. We are aware of this situation with the Chinese doctors, and we are aware of the medicine men in Africa. We have the same position, and it's our problem internally how to find correctly who's who. We've seen people who have no clue about medicine. They call themselves medicine men, and they cause mayhem, and they think they're right. Some do good work, but some are just there. So we came from medicine men. That's why we are here. The knowledge has been carried on from one, what do you call it, father to son. We never had a diplomat who's a doctor who can do mayhem around.
In fact, we are planning to have a meeting with Dr. Klaus and invite all the applier doctors to attend, and we can translate. And Dr. Klaus can make sure if they are suitable for the teaching. Yeah.
Yes, there is a group. I've been told 600-700 doctors, Chinese doctors. I have the name. If you speak to Professor Xu, he knows which group it is. They wanted to join, but none of them speaks English. If we can sort this out, they can bring that group of 600-700 doctors into this team, in the teaching.
Okay, I will talk with Professor Zhu for that, and I will.
There is a team of doctors, mainly alternative Chinese doctors. It could be 3 or 4 groups of them. So it's got to be resolved. In that note, as a lot of you are aware, Stanley, can you tell us how the teaching is going in different languages at the moment? Chinese is one of them. There is a Chinese teaching. There is a Japanese teaching which goes every Sunday now.
Yes, Chinese teaching is hosted by Ruti that you are talking with now.
Pardon? Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Yes, the Chinese teaching is going on every Saturday morning, and Ruth is hosting it. You're talking with her now. Japanese one will continue this Sunday, but you're asking about the regular study, or because medical,
All
you
of
know?
them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
So this is it. I mean, regarding Chinese and Japanese, yes, they're running. We have 16 languages actually running now.
How many languages?
16.
Can you explain to us which one they are, that where they have to go to find them?
Who, the students? You mean in general?
Yes, just yeah, in general, if people want to go to the teachings in, let's say, in Hungarian or whatever, where they go, what's the procedure? Where do we find these classes or teachings?
For the public teachings, anyone can join. For the private teachings, they need to apply at kfsi.org.
Yeah,
Study.
okay. The public teachings in different languages.
For the public teachings in different languages, there is a Facebook page that Jackie created where all the IDs are published all the time.
Can you put it on the screen where they can go? I stop sharing.
Jackie, you're there probably. You will jump faster than me now because I'm in the middle of something. Jackie? Maybe he's not next to.
There?
Yeah, he is on the list of panelists, but could be that he's not next to. So I'll try to find in the meantime.
Can you tell us which languages are teachings going on now? It's Chinese?
Yeah, at the moment, Chinese, Japanese, Hungarian, Romanian, Polish, Turkish, French, German, Italian. Italian is paused until Giovanni continues. And Bulgarian. And then I need to open the page because where is this? Just a moment.
We have moved the Keshe Foundation on the Facebook as what we call
KFSSI education. Yes.
Pardon?
You're talking about that we are streaming now the public teaching in English right now also to the Facebook, right?
Facebook, yes.
Yeah. Not before we were streaming to live stream in YouTube, and now we added also the Facebook stream. Yeah? But this is only for public teaching in English, not for public teaching in other languages. We are not streaming them. They're available only on Zoom. Okay, I opened now the page with all the languages. So Bulgarian, Chinese, yeah, I forgot the Dutch one, and Norwegian, Spanish, Tagalog had a few teachings. This is in the area of Philippines mostly, and Vietnamese. Vietnamese is also already running each Saturday in the morning. Yeah. We will do the page also on the kfssi.org, which is the central point web page for the KFSI education. We can publish all the public teaching IDs there for people to join. But more or less within the communities, language communities, there are always few which are taking care for the coordination and spreading the information around on all their portals that the people were used to come. Each language has at least one who is leading the community, and more or less they're taking care that the people are informed and coming into the public teaching first, and then when they decide to be ready for more knowledge, then they apply to become a student and get access also to the private teachings in all these languages. And every student receives also the access to the education portal, education site, where all the recordings are stored since May 2015. And that means a vast amount of knowledge that you have given, you delivered since opening in Trani.
Hi, Stanley. Hi, Mr. Keshe. This is Klaus. Sorry, I dropped out before.
Mr. Keshe dropped out.
Yes, I'm here.
No, he's here. Yeah. Okay. I see that Jackie is sharing now the KFSI education that he on the Facebook that he's taking care of, and in this KFSI education page on the Facebook, there are published all the IDs for the public teaching. So we selected this platform because the most of the people are coming there, and
okay, what we see, I just keep it there, don't move it. You have somebody went down. Can you go back up to, please? Go back on the page, go up on the page. We see Slovenian, we see.
Yeah, these are the languages opened. I mean, the IDs are opened, and we are waiting for people to come in. We are all the time inviting, encouraging them, those that we know they are following us, but it must come to the point that they feel they would like to be representative for the language community, and then they apply to become a teacher. They get the Zoom account configured as to have an access to this language ID, and they start the process.
Okay, no problem. Anything else you can add to this?
At this point, yeah, there is also another initiative going on for a long time about creating the subtitles for all the teachings, which increase the spread of knowledge. And right now, there is a huge team established that is coordinating the process of creating subtitles for all recordings since May 2015, first in English and then to translate them in all the languages, and so that the people could watch and actually read the subtitles in their language. So we are inviting people also to these efforts. Now for public teachings it's easier because everybody can participate, but for the private teachings only the students can participate. So it's harder to do because you don't deal with millions of people being able to contribute. So we see the main mission of KFSI education is to spread the knowledge, and the language is the only barrier that we have. So all of you listening this right now, if your language is not presented yet and you would like to spread this knowledge to the community that speaks your language, please step forward. There is send an email to education@spaceshipinstitute.org and start the teaching in your language. You need to start at least, for example, 1 hour per week is enough of your time that you will give into these teachings, and then you will see when you expand the community, you can teach more, you can expand to the private teachings step by step. So anyone that is interested in that, we are already having talks to start teachings in Hindi language for the Indian region, and Russian, and many others. So in this year we quite expanded this.
Okay, thank you very much. I just received the notes in the background from Dr. Klaus that the cancer at the spaceship.org will be monitored directly if anybody wants to join the trials. We have, as I said, injections for 80 people at this moment, and soon it'll be filled up because the governmental bodies will take some of it for their trial cases in the country. So if you are looking for the cancer trials, this please go directly to the Cancer at the Spaceship Institute, and we'll set up the procedure that it can be done, because with the cancers, what we look every day counts, and we're trying to get this resolved very fast. Thank you
By the
very
way,
much.
Mr. Keshe, Klaus is not is now available. He came in. He's among the panelists. So if you wanted to ask him anything.
No, it was a situation regarding what they want to do with the Chinese. Dr. Klaus, would you like to add to the information there, please?
Yes, what we have set up now for the medical teaching is that.
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Sorry. What we have what we've set up for the medical teaching now is that we transcribe the medical teaching in a written form in English. And with this basis, we have then the possibility to translate it into different languages. This is something we already have set up now.
I'm going to jump in, and I've been told something about what you're doing, which is fantastic. We tried to do this for years, but I hear you started it. You have started the Wikipedia of the Keshe Foundation. Would you like to tell us? Have I surprised you?
Yeah, this is something I prepared for months, and yesterday in the medical teaching, I thought it's the right time just to ask the therapists, doctors online, whether they could help me. We started a Wikipedia site, which is very easy to edit, where all the knowledge can be written down, and can be summarized and compressed. And what I made is a kind of basic framework. And now there are several doctors, therapists from the medical teaching who immediately said they will jump in and help to add information to it. And we divided it into two parts. The one part is a kind of theory part, where we describe the whole procedure from the first contact to plasma technology, making what is plasma technology, what is scans, a kind of handbook for doctors, therapists. And the second part is a kind of database where we write for every disease, for every illness, what plasma technology can add, which GANs of which information or which devices can be used when people have specific illnesses. And we also want to add the emotional part. This is something we want to set up because emotion is the basis of all our diseases and illnesses, and we work in the whole handbook emotional parts, specifically when we talk about illnesses. And this is what we started, and quite a lot of doctors, therapists jumped on it and declared they would like to help, would like to add their knowledge. And I'm very happy about this because I prepared it for months. And yesterday, when you dropped in and out, Mr. Keshe, I thought it's the right time to ask the doctors to help. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Why can't we extend this to a full-blown Wikipedia of the plasma technology, that all other aspects can be added to it?
You mean to put in public?
this
put in public and let the Keshe Foundation, anything to do with our technology, we make the GANs plasma with Wikipedia of it. And we control it.
This was the initial idea. I just wanted to make...
I tried to set this up years ago, but we couldn't find anybody to start it. Now that you started it, maybe we can put monitors on it that we can start the whole thing as a Wikipedia of the plasma.
Is it maybe time to show the few pages to public how it looks like?
Would you like to share it?
Yes, but maybe, Mr. Keshe, we could have together look at it. There are some contents from the medical teaching in it, and some doctors work on it now. Maybe there is some data information in it. This is something we have to...
Can you open it and we can have a look?
Dr. Klaus is thinking not to put in public something. Maybe should be first sorted out.
Before we go public with this, I would like to have a closer look whether there is no information in it from the medical teaching, Mr. Keshe.
Okay. But can we make a place that some specialists like doctors can go in the specific pages, but the rest is open to public?
Yes, this is possible.
So would we be able, because the ones on the agriculture, they can add their part to it, the ones on the material or on the plasma or on energy, everybody can add their knowledge into it, or we call it, instead of call it Wikipedia, call it Plasma Wiki or whatever.
Yes, this is all possible. This was the initial idea of this project.
Klaus, probably we are talking about certain articles to be set as public, but certain to remain private, right, until they are edited and finished, correct?
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
But it gives, but how long would it be? Because if we can give a chance to everyone to build it up, as long as we have control over it, they don't put rubbish in it, and at the same time we don't, what do you call it?
This is always
the only thing before we make the system of Wikipedia is that we have a look again what can be seen public and what should not go out from the teachings concerning to protect our doctors or the knowledge from the one or the other doctor. So we just have to filter it, read it through again, and then we can go public with it.
Thank you very much. This will be fantastic. I mean, the people who are responsible for different areas, they can keep monitoring, or we put monitors on it that we don't get, but we'll allow people to add the knowledge to do with plasma technology the way we teach, can become part of the structure, or you call it Plasma Wiki or whatever, or KF Wiki.
Alper had an idea for a name, Plasmapedia.
Plasmapedia, yes, why not? Or because, or we have to find a name for it that everybody can go to it, and it becomes a scientific point. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, the papers of the Ghana conference will be released as a standard published papers presented in the conference, and this is how we have to bring the knowledge and add the knowledge to it. And somewhere in the Wikipedia, all the teachings can be, or what you call Plasma Wiki, whatever you call it, has to be brought in. That people can follow into it and they can add into it. With what we see now with the researchers which are coming through universities and institutes, we need this. This is essential for us. On the other hand, we got to make another announcement that Ghana, or KF, or Keshe Foundation Ghana, will be opened up as a separate page on the internet as KF Ghana or Keshe Foundation, Ghana.org or .com. You will see a totally different presentation of the program on it. It's very much different than the Keshe Foundation present Keshe Foundation websites, and in time, hopefully, a lot will be brought in. It'll be loaded up. I think Stanley can tell us how this is going to be done. Are you there, Stanley?
Yes, I'm here. Could you repeat the last part? I was something else.
Regarding the Ghana Keshe Foundation, the page and what is going to happen there, please. It's different than the Keshe Foundation website we have now. It's totally different.
Yes, we are working on that to create a different experience with the websites. So for the Ghana, we will publish soon the page, which will be a little bit in different format than the other web pages until now.
Thank you very much. In a short time, as you know, past 12 months or so, we closed all the credit card payments, and in the next week or two, you will see the establishment of the credit card payment back on the Keshe Foundation website. So that makes it easier for those who wanted to pay through the card. This has been reset up, and the structure is more or less should be complete in the next couple of weeks. And that is what a lot of you have been asking. You don't want to pay through bank payments. Credit card facilities has been, what do you call it, signed up for, and it'll be back on the web pages of the Keshe Foundation worldwide. The Arizona company will start selling items as of this week, hopefully. So you can buy products manufactured in the United States online. Ghana manufacturing has gone into the next step within next week, 10 days. You'll be able to produce products from Ghana. Ghana production is targeted for African market. It is mainly heavily targeted for African market. The facility is set up for water decontamination and energy units and other products, which is very heavily needed in Africa. So Ghana factory is totally concentrated on production of materials for African nation, African continent. We don't have malaria in the north. We don't have water contamination in the rivers the way we see in Africa. So there are systems built and getting built that meets the demand of more or less third world nations, what they call it, what we call as part of our Universal Council as one nation in part of this planet where there is a need for support, at least for the time being, to provide clean water. These products you will see Ghana Keshe Foundation or KF Ghana will deliver a specific solution for specific needs of the continent. The problem is that in the European nations we don't have malaria, so it's not a concern. In Africa and in the third world nations, some 70 nations across the planet are affected by malaria, affected by most of the nations affected by HIV. So we are delivering solutions specifically for these kind of things through Ghana, and the team of the literally setting up the factory in Ghana, they're all 90% scientists. We haven't taken people of ordinary from the just to have a worker. They're all masters, PhDs, and they work in the factory. They learn what they're doing, that we can spread the knowledge through the highest educated people across. The first wave are all nuclear physicists in different aspects. They all have their masters or whatever in nuclear technology. And we chose this, that we show Africa is a jewel in the crown. We don't need somebody off the street or just looking for employment. We are training the elites of the scientists to be able to communicate with the rest of the public and deliver the technology. So the Ghana Keshe Foundation, we look at to carry at least, even in our production lines, in our research side, in everything else, scientists, 99% all African. This is the target we set up and we are achieving it. And as we said, we pay European wages to African people from Ghana, African nations. That we do not lose our, what I call the new generation of scientists, to immigrate, to go through a process of life where they can have the luxury of being home and living a comfortable life and being able to participate in what we call development of the nations of Africa. This is important. This is as part of the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. We put a lot of effort. Those who are very close to the foundation, they know we have left literally all the efforts into African nations at the moment. All our investments is literally ditching into this place, in 2-3 places that we can change the position. A life in Africa with AIDS is the same as life in AIDS in London or New York. But here we can make the change and we deliver the technology. Here we can deliver the technology that the water is clean, everybody can have a clean water. One of the interesting thing is we see the exploitation of the water by the European corporations. Importing water into Africa in tons, in bottles and bottles, millions of dollars is siphoned off. This way, every house, every person should be able to have a clean water, access to clean water. You will see products on the Keshe Foundation Ghana, which you'll be puzzled why it's not in Europe, because you don't have a need for it, but here there is a need for it. Here, people die of infections in water every day. 30 people, 30 children die every day in Ghana from malaria under the age of 5. In Europe, nobody's interested unless he makes money to sell some tablets which might do work. So we have and we concentrate a lot of effort into African nations that they come up, but this time we don't bring a slavery of the knowledge, we bring the beauty of the knowledge. You will see all the people on the manufacturing side, most of them are of the highest level of education, which we cannot do in Europe. We cannot do in America. The first, we will take you, the pictures we released by Ghana Keshe Foundation in the coming days or weeks. We have set up deliberately to not to use anything imported in Ghana. This is the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. You're setting up a factory in China, has to be only Chinese. You work in India, has to be Indian. Don't look what we do in Italy. In European countries, it's all what we call fur coats and no knickers, which means people just cover themselves, but they have nothing underneath. The ethos of living has gone. Everything is so, what you call, materialistic. Here, we have to make the change. Here is the job of the Keshe Foundation supporters to make that change. Don't look, this is very important. Peru Keshe Foundation manufacturing has gone into operation. And thank you very much for going there and signing the contracts, and now they're in operation. Arizona the same. Ghana has gone into operation running. Kenya has been signed, is to go. Austria is the documents to be done. Togo is just for me to sign the documents to finish. In Singapore and Taiwan, we'll give you the documents in the coming days. But the same goes with Keshe Foundation UK. The production will be headed by my eldest son, will go into operation very soon. We see the operation will run across the world, but we have to make the change to make sure everything stays local. Don't go looking in China for cheaper material. Look what's inside your nation that you can use and bring jobs, bring security, bring respect. In my talk when I was in Ghana, was very simple. I explained to the people in the press conference, Ghana has some of the top scientists in the world, but they have never been given the room and they were never been given respect. And it's them who let themselves down. Now we're taking the respect back to Ghana, back to Kenya, back to Peru. Everything you set up around the foundation has to be one nation, and one nation relies on its local operation. That's how when we can make our local people happy, satisfied, bring comfort to them, we have added to the spirit of the unity of the total continent, and then as one nation. You will see, I promised, I will carry on through it. Africa will become the jewel in the crown of Keshe Foundation, in bringing the peace forward in a very smooth way. We have established Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute in Ghana. We will have our own launch pad and everything else there. Thank you very much for Benjamin, all the hard work you've done. The latest research labs will be set up in Ghana in the coming weeks at the highest standard. We take in African scientists, people who left the continent with the knowledge to find peace somewhere else, then they got in more trouble. They can come back home and live a life which deserves a scientist, a man of a nation, to live among himself. We have been given, and we thank the Ghanaian government for collaboration and facilitating everything possible. The first spaceship launch pad as the institute. We hope in the next couple of weeks we invite the Motions scientists to come to Ghana. We are not building, it's already built. We work at the highest level of security, and from there we teach the rest. Those who come to Ghana as part of Mojan program, you will sit next to Ghanaian military and space people and scientists. We teach 4-to-1 for every European or people from outside Ghana. We teach 4 Ghanaian scientists to become part of the space program. It will take us a few weeks to organize, to set up the whole place, and then you're welcome to Ghana. Now, those who applied for Motions program, you know where you are, where you have to be heading. We need the time and the place, and I'll be there to teach in the first sessions, and then it'll be taken over most probably by Ghanaian Air Force officers who will teach you everything about flight. You saw officers in Ghanaian conference from the Air Force. Now we're trying, and we will bring them into the flight system with the government. They have to be. We use their space to teach. We teach them how to become man of the space. We do not get involved in military, but we teach the men who already know about the flight to bring their knowledge in how to control and how to be part of. Our offer goes to all the nations with air forces. You're welcome to join us in Ghana. This is what we promised, and this is what we'll deliver. Teachings will be done on Motions program from the most secure spaces in Ghana, governmental offices, and this will allow us to share knowledge. Ghana Keshe Foundation, as a limited cooperative organization with the Ghanaian government, has to be part of the next step in delivering the knowledge to a nation freely. And a lot of this work has been done by Benjamin. He's done a lot of work over the past year in Ghana to bring this about. We support it, and now we know we'll succeed because the nation needs and will succeed by its own. And the nation is the whole of the planet, not just Ghanaian nation. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe.
Yes.
My name's Zane Lott, and man, you are my hero. I really love you. I wish I could spend a lot of time with you, but I know time's kind of limited. But I have a question for you. I've since I started, you know, building the devices and getting into the GANs, man, I'm really surrounded by nothing but plasma, and I have this
But by
light,
what?
plasma.
Yes.
I have this light behind my eyes, and it's really bright, and I don't understand it, and I'm not, you know, I don't know, maybe you can explain a little bit about it, or
I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain?
well, I don't know, just sitting around, you know, I mean, there's like a brightness behind my eyes, like I don't know, like a light in my head that I can almost see in front of my eyes. And maybe I'm going blind. I don't know. But I was
So you
thinking,
better see a doctor to get the explanation.
oh, okay. Okay.
Mr. Keshe, maybe it's the right time for Gato to come forward and invite more people to the agriculture program. We are looking there for the people with experience in agriculture field to join our special.
Let us clear this point with this gentleman first, please.
Okay.
Can you please carry on explain to us what you see? I think you better see a doctor to explain what is happening.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem to be like a concern, but it's like I almost have like this ticking inside of me, and it's almost like a motivator, you know, like I'm getting really close to something, and I've just started to get into the process of developing. I'm trying to produce plasma from gases to create matter, and I've been collaborating with a few people on some ideas on how to acquire that, you know, like creating the oxygen and the nitrogen and the hydrogen, and bring them all together. But maybe I'm going in the wrong approach, but I know that there's no motors in space, so
there is something which now you brought this topic up. Maybe it's time to speak about it. Some of you who've been developing, or you made the stacker units, or you made what do you call different apparatuses. If you place your apparatuses in the GANs, liquid GANs environment, or you put it like an island in a tray with the GANs around it, like take your stacker unit, put a tray of liquid plasma, you'll find out your performance of your system totally changes. You reach different dimensions and different strength. Last night we were looking at the operation of testing of the fields and the impulses and how we can do. And it's very strange that there are innovation people do tests, but they don't see how to achieve the test, how the next step should be. And as usual, I never teach that because it should be naturally understood. We've seen around maybe 18, 20 feet expansion of the fields from the center. Maybe more we can go. But this is a spherical. We've seen the shape of the donut, a full plasma, the height going very high, we maybe 10, 12 feet up. But what we don't see is the concentration of the field. So those of you who work very close with ganses and the plasmas, try to make a condition of collaborating or bringing in collaboration different aspects of the technology together. You'll find out it changes a lot of things for you. Those of you who work, for example, in medical section, I don't know if any of you, I'm sure you all know, it's traditionally that in the East, when somebody has a high temperature, we put them in the water and we put some alcohol, small amount of alcohol in the water, and you leg the upper leg from knee down with a mixture of alcohol, 10 or 15%, with the water. Very slowly, it takes all the temperature away. And you find people with a high fever within minutes lose all their fever. Reverse this knowledge backwards. What about if you make a gas water and you stand in it? Gas of CO2. Gas of mixture of CO2 and zinc oxide. And you transfer the whole, what I call, exactly like what we do with the plants, we do with the vegetation. We've seen in agriculture that when we put CO2 to the plant, the whole plant changes, the whole environment of the plant changes, and they give a better harvest because we now done with what I call greenhouses. Why don't we put that and make it as part of us? It's the root. When you put water, gas water in, and you stand in it, or you put your feet in it, you separate with a new condition from the earth. That is what is you. You have created that separation with a new system, with a new plasma. In a way, you position yourself in respect to plasma. You don't need to stand in it, but if you put a tray or a bucket of, let's say, gas liquid, and put a little stool in it that you don't touch it, but you stand in the middle of it, this gives you a total atmosphere, a different atmosphere. Put the zinc oxide in it, put CO2 in it, put copper oxide liquid gas in it, liquid plasma, and feel the change. Measure the change. This is something vital you need to do. And a few months ago, I talked about this in one of the teachings. You create an environment, this is yours, this is your shell where you're at peace. Change the ratio of the CO2 and the zinc oxide and see how you find happiness, how you find peace. This is what we heard from our Chinese friend. It's time to make an environment for us. We talked with the doctors with the rooms where there are gas system rotating. This anybody can do anywhere in their house. Anywhere, anywhere. You find high temperature, you find burn, you find not being at peace emotionally. Make your own island. And walk into it. Stand in it. Don't touch it. Let its field brings balance to you.
Okay, I can do that.
Anybody can do that.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. But the thing is, this is what we need to extend the knowledge. That's what I said. The teaching of making is finished. Now the depth of the knowledge has to open up. You don't need to touch, you don't need to drink. You change the way we've seen in our agriculture. Our people, and as I explained to them in their teaching, you don't need a greenhouse. The greenhouse now is a problem for us. You don't need to have, because now the field create a shelter, an environment. I was in a meeting yesterday with some people, and I explained to them, the guy said, this, we do this with the plants, you don't need fertilizer. I said, now, greenhouse is a problem for us. Can you please switch off your microphone? Whoever's got it open. So we need to understand, now we create a new greenhouse for the plants. That's why they grow so fast. That's what I was explaining to our people in agriculture. Greenhouse now is a problem, because now we understand we create a condition that it attracts amino acid, and now we know plants use amino acid of the atmosphere to live. With putting a shield on it, with like a greenhouse, we reduce their interaction. So it's the same with human body. Put a bucket in the garden, stand in the middle of it on an island without touching it. Change the atmosphere, see if you feel different. It's the emotion changes. If you find peace within yourself, if you find through it creating a peaceful environment for yourself, you start finding your peaceful emotion. And then you find a path to your soul. What I was teaching this morning. It's you who got to understand 80% of the information carried in your emotion comes outside the neurosystem. The neurosystems are for the physical part. And I explained this before many times. And you think, I feel pain because I touched it. That's the physical part. You haven't touched the emotional part of it, which goes outside. It's too slow. The neurosystems are matter state things with the GANs, and that they take time. Linkage outside is faster. Create your own greenhouse. Stand there with your family. Bring peace in. Then you find out the life changes. The dimensions of the expectation. And you find what I said this morning. That peace which you're looking for, because you change the environment around you. And stand outside. In the house is too much. Everything is restricted. Stand it open on it. Then you're connected to the universal energy. The houses we have built has become the cage for the soul of the man, and not only its physicality. Because they touch our emotion. They control our emotion. Stand outside, you're connected. You see a different light. You earn and you gain different knowledge into the universe. This is how it's done by many in the universe. It's time to mature in the total understanding. We've done everything. There is no more copper plate to be made and how I nanocode. Now you have the free plasma. It's you how you create the condition of its use and what you want to use it for. You can measure it. You can measure the field. Those of you who have the tools, you will see it. You go into a machine to see your aura. Now you create the aura that it dictates the change inside. Maybe you can walk into it and you don't need to feed yourself. Maybe you can put the person with Alzheimer's in it and they walk out without Alzheimer's because they have found a piece of connection within the environment which is balanced to them. We did part of this, and part of it is done by the medical team, where they put the cores on the top and the bottom and the sides, and they encage you. That costs a lot of time. This can be done by anyone. Call it a peace island. Walk in it and find your peace in it. Because it elevates through your leg and it goes and it creates its own circle, so you become the central column in the literally the plasma of yourself. And what you've done, you have created the separation from the heavy pulls of the planet. you are in your own shell, then your beauty will come.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other question? Is this a solution for people with a cancer with emotion? Yes, it is. Is this a solution for those who want to be at peace and without pain? Yes, if they decide. Don't forget, the mixture is your separation zone from what is created the pain. In a way, you become a separate island, you become a second separate moon from the planet, because now you have separated the connection. And if you go to the man of space who understand, they know what I'm talking about, you make the mixture according to the origin of the position which you came from. You will live within where you came from. Many lost their tribes. Now this is time to go back home. Any questions? Or shall we call it the day?
Mr. Keshe, this is Klaus, K2 from Austria again. We can run a test with a sewage plant in my home part. This sewage plant, this purification plant, is for 10,000 people. And we want to test some fields with COO and maybe with a medical infusion system to drop in some guns water into the to clarify the water.
We have already done the test in Ghana Atomic.
Okay.
Oh, there is something I have to tell you. This is a gift to the rest of you. A lot of you had problem in identifying of what it is, what you made, what is the material. The collaboration between Keshe Foundation and Ghana Atomic as a joint venture company allows us now to make Ghana as a central research center for any test you want to do. What this means is, if you found the material you want to be tested, what it is you're looking for somewhere, write it. Keshe Foundation, Ghana. Send it to the Keshe Foundation Ghana Atomic, and we'll test it for you. You have to pay for this from now on because it's part of the governmental organization. But we have access to everything which has not been accessible to for testing. As part of this, we have done, you will see the new systems, which is a water treatment, water sewage treatment, and decontamination. These machinery and systems will be marketed by Ghana Atomic in the coming weeks. You will see it. So we already done a sewage system, what we call the water decontamination from bacteria, and it works. Benjamin has delivered recently a new material to the labs, which is getting tested. We usually should get the results within 24 hours, 48 hours. So now Keshe Foundation has research center facilities, international standards that we can use. Even though we expand on it, Benjamin has a full green light to start establishing the, what do you call it, the latest laboratories within the structure of the government. If you want to test something, if you want to know about the sewage system, what we talked about, the Wikipedia, what we call Plasmavidia or KF Wikipedia, or whatever, these details will be embedded into it very soon. That these tests have been done, the papers are there. As we are a part of the One Nation, One Planet, we'll add these to it. And we can test very, very rapidly. Very rapidly. If you want to test something, or if you're looking with water decontamination, we have seen the literally destruction or annihilation or whatever you want to call it of cleaning up all the bacteria. very rapidly with the combination of the materials we've seen been tested, and it's all what you call it, official reports and laboratory signed and sealed by research lab, governmental research labs. So this gives a lot of makes a lot of work easier for those of you who are working like you in showing that the water can be cleaned up. What we see, I will introduce a new material in teaching. We have to keep within the 4 hours teaching because of the Facebook. Please give me a warning beforehand that we don't overrun it. There is a new material which I touched on, but any of you who have the problem with bacteria, not with viruses, with germs especially, go back to the teaching. Go back to understanding of the totality, what is part of the germ structure and what is part of the bacteria structure. Part of the germs and the bacteria, especially what we see in the, what we call the structure of the water systems and even in human body, is understanding of the power of nitrogen. Nitrogen gas has to become part of the work which has got to do with bacteria and anything to do with outside viruses. Many of you have tested the things, and we've shown all the viruses we can overcome, but we do not see so much partially what do you call it, the bacteria and microbes we could not handle and to place it. So now you understand, in the chain of protein or amino acid, the main player for change is nitrogen. So those of you who go for bacteria and microbes, CO2, CuO is good for viruses, and depending on the strength of the virus, you can go a stage higher. You can go to cesium, you can go to plutonium, you can go to higher level materials, because you have to be above the germ or the virus level that it can interact with it. So on the other hand, you can decompose the whole structure of the protein, amino acid, and the easiest way is the controller. The controller in the amino acid CHON is nitrogen. Oxygen is holder. Carbon is a communicator. Hydrogen is the giver. The controller of the amount of energy is given sits within nitrogen. That's in the matter state. We call it centralization. So if you want to handle bacteria, you want to handle microbes, which now have an amino acid structure, you don't need to destroy anything. Create different strength of amino acid of nitrogen. We have facilities to create what you call to be able to develop pure nitrogen gas with the facilities which is available to the Keshe Foundation Ghana. We have a nitrogen ice maker, blocker, and gases. So you will see the effect very rapid. If you have the viruses and that kind of thing, you add to the water the liquid gas, or you create a liquid gas of the condition in it, you will solve part of the problem. But you will see, they tell you the bacteria are not touched, or the microbes. You most probably find a solution in CuO and NO, or NO2 or N2O. Depends how you produce your gas. Don't forget, all these are available and possible in a gas state. So I've never taught this, but in the past few weeks, I've seen a need for this knowledge to be added on, and we are testing. Some people are producing it now. In Italy, we are using it, developing it for decontamination. The beauty with this is lands which have been heavily, what do you call it, loaded with nitrites. This is the only way you can clean up, because the GANs will allow the transformation of energy from nitrites, and you can decontaminate lands very, very quickly. And then when you have the bacteria, when you have all these components in the farming, which is with a high nitrite, you can change the condition. What you do, you choose the very high order by order of magnitude, and you place as the normal way, and the material just transfers energy, and nitrite changes by its position to carbon. That's all it does. This is what your body does. Because of the high level in transaction, it becomes carbon, and you find a much rapid response in that respect with nitrites. But there's 2 or 3 other solutions to this, because you can join it with zinc, or you can join it with copper, or you can join it with what I call carbon. NC connections are one of the biggest powerful systems in the world of bacteria, but nobody has ever used it because it's part of knowledge that you can add to and develop it. So if you're going for a switch, you'll find out, oh, it kills bacteria, but it'll do all the viruses, but you don't have much success with germs, because now you have to go through the matter state, the strength, because when you come to that point, is the strength of the fields, of the GANs, of the matter state, which has led to the creation of the germs. So you handle it through the nitrogen. You don't destroy, you bring a new balance, and literally opens up. When you look at the culture plates, you see very effective how they will change. You can use even nitrites, what you buy as a farming fertilizer with a high concentration of nitrogen, to produce these gases, but you have to see what else is in there that you can extract, that you get a near pure condition. As I said, we just opened the door of the knowledge of the space, and it's a lot to learn. So with water decontamination, you'll have huge success. Do not use CO2. You need to use CuO or ZNO. Your success with ZNO and CuO is more or less the same, but you will see better results with CO2. But with the germs and the bacteria in these plants, you have to go for nitrite. You have to go for a nitrogen. And one of the best ways to make gas of nitrogen is using what I call the nitrogen ice blocks, because you can change it very quickly.
Okay, thank you for giving me this understanding, and I will come in touch with the Ghana Atomic Institute, and we have to build
you just write the email setup. It'll be in operation in next 48 hours, 72 hours. Is info@kfghana.org. You send to all the operation has to go to KF Ghana, and it'll be handled through the Ghanaian scientists, and the response will be given. But you have to realize all these scientists are highly educated people, and they can find solutions on the floor of how systems can be built. The research center is Ghana, Keshe Foundation Ghana, registered limited company in partnership with the government of Ghana. It's the first time Keshe Foundation has established a full cooperation with governments, and we see 3 more online in the next few weeks. And then we bring everything together, that all the governments, Keshe Foundation Ghana, what they call it, are connected to the governments, link up together and work as one organization, as part of one nation. Any research, any development you want to be tested in the laboratories, you don't need to go any further. We have the facilities of a full nation at the disposal of humanity. So it's part of the foundation. You want to come and do a research, we can organize researchers to come in to do and to go back. You have to understand the condition of the nation and the respect for the nation. You're not coming to Africa, you come to more advanced nation than most of the European countries I have seen. We will expand on this more and more. Keshe Foundation Ghana is partially owned government organization, is not a limited company partnership with the individuals, and we have the full facility support of the security services who will respond heavily to any abusers. We made sure of this. Those who thought they can create mayhem, they've done up to now, we will respond respectively, because you are handling with the government. You play this time, we play national game time. All the links, all the operations will be fully monitored by national security. So we made sure of this. This is why we came here, to make sure humanity comes to a new point of understanding. Any abuse, any out of line, which damages the integrity of the Keshe Foundation Ghana, will be responded by the national parameters. This is how it should be. Rogues have to stay on their own. National scientists and researchers, you come with the idea, have to be on your own. We support you. This way, we established one of the biggest research centers. Connecting now, we are already connecting between Ghana Atomic, which is Ghana Keshe Foundation, and Tokyo University. In the next few days, we'll announce the establishment of a joint venture, a spin-off between Keshe Foundation at 70% shareholding and Tokyo University. Collaboration between the government, institutes, and Keshe Foundation. Even though we're already researching in there, the results are so heavy that we have gone into shareholding between the government in Japan and the Keshe Foundation Research and Development. And we joined the two, Ghana and Tokyo Keshe Foundation, as part of the university and the government, to collaborate, and the first joint venture has already taken place. This is how we are developing it. The next step we see for us is China, and then the next step sits in another African nation, and we go into United States and Canada in the next 6 months. We see an opportunity of peace with the new presidential election in the United States, and we explore it maximum with our collaborators. If you develop something, you want to know what it is, we give you a secure line that it comes directly to us as a package, as a material. We tell you what it is, what we see, and depends on you, you pay or donate to the Keshe Foundation Ghana bank account, which is monitored and more or less controlled by the government. Everything you wanted up to now is at the disposal of the Keshe Foundation. We are not saying that it'll be done. It's already been done, sealed and signed, and Keshe Foundation Ghana has been registered, is in operation, and government of Ghana is a shareholder in the structure, and they protect their shares and their interest. You developed, you want to see what is the material you developed, just send to info@KF Ghana or
Mr. Keshe, I think we lost you there for a little bit.
Could be that he dropped out, yeah.
The good news is I came back.
Yeah, you went to Planet Zeus there for a while.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble. I'm just on emergency. I'm using my iPhone as a hotspot right now, so I don't think I'll be able to broadcast. But I can just tune into the Zoom here right now until we get the main Ethernet. It may be up now. He's going to try to switch over and see.
Okay.
Hello, Rick.
Hello?
It's me, Jalal from Iraq. Maybe I will not have time after 5 minutes. I would like to ask Mr. Keshe about the Arabic world. Is there anything we can do or anything there is in the way? Because it makes me sad
You
for
ask about what?
anyone. About the Arabic world, about anything to the Arabic nation. Because until now, for maybe more than 1 year, I didn't hear anyone from the Arabic land.
That is a good question. I know there's some things going on in the background with that, but I'm not clear on, so that might be a good question.
Yeah, if can you just send this question to Mr. Keshe, because maybe I will not, I cannot ask him because I am at work, so I would appreciate it.
If there's what going on, teachings in Arabic.
Yeah. I mean, teaching or Keshe Foundation Arabic world or something, because I really feel sad to not hear anyone from the Arabic world.
Okay, yep, we'll try to get that in here. I need to figure out what's going on with my system here right now. Just a minute.
For the teachings in Arabic language, we just need the first candidate to come forward, and you will get the ideas, and the teaching can begin. I know that we are in preparations for the Farsi, but that's the different language, right?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one here in the in whole Keshe Foundation daughters.
Yeah, but if you are following the public teachings and you could do at least 1 hour per week public teachings, that means translation of what we talk in public teaching in English, you translate in Arabic and you broadcast on the ID for the Arabic language, that's the beginning. This is how everybody started. If you are willing to do that, send us an email to educationspaceshipinstitute.org and we will respond to you and do everything that you can start.
Yeah, why not? I love to do that. Really, it's my nature to help, and this is one of my.
I will connect you with Jackie Benesos, who is actually responsible for this part, and you will get all the instructions how to start, how to approach. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I will send it to Jackie.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much to come forward.
Thank
we
you.
have another language.
Yeah, it's out for 1 year now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say something about agriculture. This is Gatwa, please.
Go ahead, Gatwa.
Yeah, I just read here on the chat that 2 people at least had written to ask that, to say that they had applied and had not been replied to. And I replied directly on the chat to both of them. And one letter had been returned undelivered. And the other one, I had not seen any application, but once I wrote it on the chat, I received 1 application of one of those applied immediately. But in general, all experienced farmers, we are looking for experienced farmers, agriculture specialists, and agricultural researchers, and they can write to agriculture@kfssi.org. We will reply to their applications immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gatwa. Yeah. We are encouraging people to join our special private teachings in agriculture. For those specialists that can prove they have the experience from the field, it's free. You just need to go through the application process, and Gatwa is the one who is reviewing your application. And then you join us, and you will see it's very exciting what we are sharing inside these teachings. Sooner or later, this knowledge comes to public, but we would like to work first in a team of specialists from the field, so especially those that are already conducting certain experiments around the world. You can get in direct touch with other researchers and share the experience and even improve your your part. So you are all welcome to send the email to agriculture.kfsi.org, as Dr. Gato mentioned, and I hope to see you in the classroom soon.
Stanley, this is Klaus from Austria. I'm one of the two. Mr. Gato speaks, and we cannot fill in the application. We cannot find in the application form the agriculture part. Maybe there is a problem.
I know that, yeah, it's true, but you know, this is why we are publishing the email address. So if you tell to the email address, I just applied and this is my application number, you know, then we can connect the points and do it faster, you know. It's just that this form wasn't updated yet and we're having some difficulties updating it.
Okay.
Okay, just send an email, and because I don't know if you remember the application number, or otherwise we'll find you by the name. Okay, we can sort it out outside this teaching. No problem. Yep.
Yes, good. Thank you.
There's a fellow James here that mentions, are environmentalist scientists excluded from the agricultural teachings? Is an environmental teaching coming soon?
I do not know for any plans for this, so maybe
I'm thinking with your technique with the last person that perhaps James would like to teach an environmental teaching, or at least lead that group and have others, scientists, invited into it as a means of teaching. That might be the next big group to form. Who knows?
There is, sorry, I got dropped off because of the battery.
You're back at the right time.
Yeah, you didn't want the humming noise, so I disconnected the power and the battery ran out. The environmental work is already set up. We have a gentleman in Italy who's working on it. And it's just that to bringing that into part of the Keshe Foundation work is a full-time member of the Keshe Foundation. And he's already achieved a lot on environmental changes. The decontamination of the land is one of the major problems in Italy, as a lot of you know. We have a sort of collaboration, and there's a lot of radioactive materials around. There are meetings set up in that respect. But with the beauty with this setup we have in Italy is that everything scientific data, everything which handled is fully researched and tested in the laboratories. So the data given for environmental cleanup is very, very precise. And what we cannot do there to help any of you across the planet, as I said, the beauty with the establishment of the Keshe Foundation Ghana is that we have access to national government laboratories, and in the coming time, Keshe Foundation Ghana laboratories, which will be equipped with the latest possible systems. So there is a lot to be done, and especially on the environment, what we call earth pollution, ground pollution. We know we have a weakness, and we tried with Alex in Nigeria too, is for example, oil contamination. There's a huge problem with land and sea oil contaminations from exploration and other things we've seen, like Gulf of Mexico and the rest. And we see a lot of it in Nigeria because of the oil exploration there. We are looking into solving this problem, but to what extent we haven't had much success with it. But there's a lot going on in the background trying to find a solution in what do you call it, ground pollution. In Italy, we have huge amount of radioactive pollution and water contamination. If you see a solution, or you want to find a solution, or you have tested something, you want to test it to actually works, you don't need to look for laboratories, just send them to, we give it the address, as we said, Ghana Keshe Foundation. And we test it in the labs which we have. We have the top scientists around the world here working. The agriculture and the environment has to be separated, but it's already working as a team in Italy. Just give us a few moments, this will be added into it. Any other question? Or shall we call it a day? Are we near the time, 4 hours?
Yes, we're getting on in the time there now.
22. It's now 12:22. Our time
Yeah.
should be finished.
And we had some problems with the live streaming where there's 2 interruptions to the internet here. So I'll re-upload a complete workshop on the live stream later once we get that edited in, and so people will be able to see that there. And it's also available on the YouTube and the usual places for the workshop.
Please remember there is a testimonial section on the Keshe Foundation website, which now is getting gathered and put together in every language possible. Use it if you want to post any testimonials. And the same is with what we call testimonials for health or anything else you've done. It'll be interesting to now, especially that the what we call wiki part is getting set up. It'll bring a lot. Your testimonials can become part of the wiki part that people can go and look for. Slowly we build up the whole structure.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'm sure there's other things that we could always show, but we're running on in time here, and we can always show them next week. So
Yes.
thank you very much.
Can I just go back and remind you that those who were signing for motion, Ghana is your destination point. We just need a few weeks or whatever to set up everything accordingly. Go back to Ghanaian structure, and then you'll be taught in Ghana. Those of you who want to test new materials and conditions, again, Keshe Foundation Ghana is the route to. You don't need to look for. We have all the scientists at our disposal in the Keshe Foundation Ghana to be able to test and validate or help you to evaluate what you've discovered or what you think you can do with it. The process is very simple. Keshe Foundation Ghana website is totally independent of the rest of the Keshe Foundation website, because this is a governmental website and it has to be protected the same way. The structure we will announce hopefully very soon. For the biological tests and like cancer tests and that kind of thing, in a short time we'll establish and we announce what we call health at KF Japan, that you can work with them. We're trying to specialize in different parts according to their strength. We look, hopefully very soon, we'll have 2 more other nations with the Keshe Foundation, with government collaboration on the, what do you call it, on our panels. So this way we worked all of us to bring it to this point. Now we use the channels which has given the credibility to the knowledge to be used directly within the governmental structure. Please do not abuse it, because the only thing is it harms the rest of the what I call humanity, because now it's in the hand of all of us to take the technology to accept. Now we have governments behind us for flight tests. We have governmental organizations behind us for medical research. We have governmental organizations behind us for testing the materials and whatever we need in energy. We have the most, what I call, elite scientists in our team now. around the world who work with us, and we expand on this. We have moved in past 2-3 months away from being organization. Now we are, our power and technology has been recognized by the governments, and slowly in the next few months you will see a rapid establishment of the organization of Keshe Foundation worldwide with governments. It's your responsibility to establish these links with your governments. We support you the way we've done, and we are doing. And we'll see a lot of collaboration coming up with 2, maybe 3 of the top 4 nations in the world. Because we have withstood the time, we have proven we are not always successful in everything because we don't understand all of it. But what we are successful in is making a difference, and that's what it counts. We add to the knowledge. It's taken a man millions of years to get here. This is the beginning of a child being born. And we are all the parents, we have to look after it and nourish it the correct way. Thank you very much for today, and we'll give you more information as we see and as it's become available. But do one thing, change your own environment. Walk into the island of peace. Make it for yourself, in your garden, in your balcony, and you'll find out that peace will come within and out. Thank you very much for today.
Very good, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. And that'll bring to a close the 146th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And just put up that, I'll do a screen share of that final screen there, and we'll end today's teaching. Thank you, everybody.
Those in the universal community who are part of the listening culture, understanding through the soul of the man, get taught. So for the first time today, we start teaching the man and universal community.
Mr. Keshe, can we get an adjustment on the microphone there? It's getting that hum back, and
is it better now?
Much better. Thank you. Thank you.
The power supply, yes, no problem. So with the teaching from today, from now on, we teach in the universal community language. The man of knowledge will understand what they will understand. Those who do not understand in time will understand. And those who have already understood will add to their knowledge to extend their own. And so what we have to look at the structure of the life. We have to look in understanding of the life. We go back to the very, very basic. A large number of listeners, it's the first time they've been around Keshe Foundation. And they have missed or have never understood the totality of the structure. In the space, nothing is based on what man uses as material state, but uses the field to create matter state as it needs be. We go back to the very, very, very teaching, very beginning of the teachings. And then we understand why. If you remember, we entered the world of plasma technology with a science of understanding the interaction of the field, which we added to last week, and we saw the videos. But when you went and you made your CO2 boxes, if you remember, you added a nano copper plate and a zinc plate, or another plate, any other material, which you could create a condition of connection between the two, where in interaction with the material inside the system, you created very strange fat on top of the water. Those of you who go back to the teaching of 2 years ago realize, and we saw in the teaching work, as we added a piece of metal onto the material without touching anything, just hanging in there, the rusty nail or the connection of the wire with the copper and the screw start the creation of what we saw, what we call hemoglobin. This hemoglobin became the cornerstone of life on this planet. So what we saw here, the green part, was the interaction of the gaseous part, as we all know by now, which is the creation of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And in that process, somewhere the material interacted with the matter part of the planet, then it led to interaction with the solid part, and what was washed from the solid part in the liquid part of the planet, or what we call the oceans of this planet. This interaction with the metals led to creation of hemoglobin and the beginning of life as we know in the oceans or in the lakes. The water was a medium for the interaction between the gaseous and the solid state matter. You got to understand one point of understanding, one point of knowledge. Now, in the interaction between the what we call the matter part and the gaseous part, the life started with a hemoglobin, as we see here. I have lost this thing, I do not know why. So what we see, pardon?
Just click on the pen again.
I didn't touch the pen.
Yeah, you need to select again on the toolbar, yeah.
Okay, no problem. So what we saw was the interaction with the gaseous part with the matter or the liquid part, which led to the beginning of the what we call hemoglobin, and then the interaction between the hemoglobin, which was the iron and the zinc and the copper, which is floating in the waters of the oceans. We saw at the beginning of the structure of life, and then with the addition of calcium, we saw the structure of solid state, what we call human body or animal body. So life started with a gaseous interaction. So if you were looking for cancer through the plasma technology, which is getting tested and trialed, this is a official governmental trial. You have to pay for it. It's not a donation. We don't look for a donation. It's official payment, and the account is what they call controlled by the government. It's officially their partners in the venture, and there is a full open disclosure to whole structure. This is what we see. It's the only way to bring the technology internationally recognized when you do organization and partnership with governments, where as a group, as a scientific organization, we have given the solution, and we as an organization finance it ourselves. We've never been to the banks, we've never been to organizations to finance trials, and we'll never do so. So if you are those who want it and been asking if you can join the Keshe Foundation cancer trials, it is open as of today. Send your request to the cancer@spaceshipinstitute.org, or if it's another one, Wins can tell you in the background, then we'll take your application, we'll look at it, and within a few days we respond to you how you got to fill in the form, where all the details are, and then from there on we go to the next steps. We expect the trial to start within the next 2 weeks. We are hoping that the licenses will be issued. We have to bring the material in position with a full supervision of doctors in the medical governmental hospital. Testing will be done. It's not in a public hospital, and this is the process which we have taken, and it brings a lot of knowledge to us. So those of you who've been asking if you can join the trial. Yes, you can from today. Please go to, am I correct, Vince? It's called cancer@keshefoundation.org, or is it Keshe Foundation or spaceshipinstitute.org?
I would say the Spaceship Institute.
Okay, Cancer at the Spaceship Institute. Just send a small request. We'll send you the link within the next 7 days where you have to fill in. Then we need the data to understand what your cancer is, and you'll be given all the details. When you arrive at the point of destination, there is an agreement you have to sign, which is approved by the what do you call ethics committee of the government, and once you sign the documents, the whole process starts. We do not expect more than 30 days of a stay in position that we can monitor everything. Maybe 60 days, but once the reduction or stopping the cancer has been seen, and you will be informed continuously, then the process goes to, you can go back home and carry on if need be with the process till we get the final result. You are not expected to be kept in the hospital. You stay in the hotel of your designation, and from there on, it's just a matter of attending the hospital maybe once or twice a day. Should be nearby, and then we go to the next steps. We are looking at securing 2 or 3 floors in hotels that the doctor can come to the hotel where there is just 1 minute injection, and that's it. You are free for the rest of the day. And then if there is any need for any medical attention, the backup of the hospital is there, which in some cases with the cancer might be needed. This will be a very successful trial, and then it'll be released internationally by the government officials and organizations, and then we go to the next steps. In respect to the teaching, as a lot of you have been with us for some time, can I share a screen, please?
Yes, so go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. As you've been with us, we have, in the past few weeks, trying to add more and more to the knowledge, because we have given the knowledge has been shared, is refining it, adding it, and as part of the teaching today, we start, as we said, we started a spaceship program. And part of the spaceship program, as we all know, is unification of mankind with the universal community. In the teaching of today, I will teach in the language of the man. I extend the knowledge, but then that teaching goes to you, might seem far-fetched, to you might be in understanding in few weeks, few years, or hundreds of years. But now as we teach not only the man, we teach the universal community.
And once again, we are here with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and he's in the background ready to go, I believe, with today's information and latest news on plasma technology and whatnot. Are you there, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, Rick. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, whenever and wherever you listen to these knowledge seeker programs. Today, we, as usual, follow the course of teachings. There is not much to share knowledge, there's a lot of development going on. There is one point which is to be reminded. We are receiving a lot of requests for the Keshe Foundation cancer program. We should be able, hopefully within the next week or so, to confirm the start of the trials. These trials will be done on, hopefully once we get everything in position, in connection and in conjunction with government. So all the data, all the knowledge, all the whatever we achieve and we attain will be shared as knowledge with and is within the guidelines of the permit which will be given to us to carry out the trials. We have secured maximum at this moment of 80 cases for the material. Thereon we assess the position and further on the confirmation of the findings. As this project will be done in conjunction with governmental organizations, it will be out of the hand of the foundation and has to be financed and to be met. We have two choices. We can go to banks and start looking for financiers to finance the project and the rest of it, or we go directly to the people who want to be as part of the volunteers for the trial. You'll be handled by doctors, by oncologists, people who will understand the whole process of the cancer, what we call system which is set up. And for this reason, you will set up a specific email. We have one now which is called Cancer@Keshe Foundation or spaceshipinstitute.org. You can go through there, and the cases which we will pick up through there will be informed where they have to go and what is the procedure. We are looking, and it has to be done this way, something in the region of €5,000 per volunteer as a donation to the organization. You do not pay to the Keshe Foundation as the normal way. This goes to another body which is connected with a governmental structure. We will announce this in due course. People who join in when we vet within the next few days, then you'll be told where you have to go, and the doctors will, then you have to organize your trips and to be able to be there. It is a very highly formal structure, and the process will be monitored by scientists, by doctors, and it's a legal binding clinical trial. We are not going, usually when you go for a clinical trial, the institutes or whatever go in the background trying to raise finance for it. With this, we don't do this. We work as a one unit, one nation, and this has to be done by the people who need or want to use the technology for their purpose, for their illness. This is a proper way to be done, that the data cannot be tampered. Then we don't need to, like what happens in pharmaceutical, to tamper with figures to show or trying to make the data better. The data will be shared directly with all the doctors and the medical doctors which work in the background with the Keshe Foundation in teaching. So it's the first time we have achieved such a collaboration. We expect 2 or 3 more in the next 12 months of the same, where the organization in partnership with Keshe Foundation allows the development and test of the technology in different aspects. And this is the first time we have linked in joint partnership with a full governmental organization. And we don't go out searching that the data can be tampered with or be influenced in any shape. The data gathered by the scientists, governmental scientists, then will be shared with everyone. We initially estimate this at 5,000. It might possibly increase to 10 the day we launch it.
The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to experienced farmers, agricultural specialists, and researchers to apply to the Foundation's private weekly agriculture teaching workshops. If you fall into one of these categories and are interested in plasma technology integration into agriculture, you're invited to apply. Scientists and agricultural practitioners of the Keshe Foundation continually develop and apply new methods of food and fiber production, soil fertility management, plant and livestock health management, and increased farm productivity using the most advanced plasma technology that is taught at the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. In the teaching workshop, you'll learn the science of plasma technology and its applications in the field of agriculture for enhanced and equitable global food production while minimizing costs and external inputs. Practicing farmers and Keshe Foundation scientists their application of plasma technology in agriculture and the ensuing results of such applications, thus deepening and enriching learning for all participants in the private teachings. Participants are encouraged to demonstrate their farming practices in the teaching workshop. The private teachings are broadcast in English live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central European Time. If necessary, you may bring a translator to the workshop. All applications are required to provide proof of their education and professional qualifications, must pass a security background check, and are required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. Translators that attend must also pass a security check and sign the World Peace Treaty. For details on how to join the private teachings in agriculture, send an email to agriculture@kfssi.org stating that you'd like to participate. Include in the email your education and agricultural experience and reasons for your interest in plasma technology. Applicants will be contacted with further instructions and details on the application process. The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and specialty to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists of the Keshe Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop. As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now, the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today.
Welcome everyone to the 146th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute.
Action with the matter state, and then in interaction with the combination of matter state and life without a structure, and then with adding calcium, it gave it the structure, what we call a backbone. This is the repetition of life anywhere in the universe. And it's not exclusivity of this planet. But one point in the teaching, which some of you misunderstood or never understood, and you overlooked, is that in this part, in the gaseous part, there is still zinc and calcium and everything else. Because this is how they came from the interaction of the fields of the sun and the earth. Not only oxygen and carbon has been absorbed to the planet, everything else is absorbed in the planet. In this structure, there is vapor, water. There is still some amount of sodium and the rest. So life to man is not only what we see in 4 legs or the fish, there is a life in upper levels which is intelligent too. It has a structure, and depending on the field strength in respect to the center of the earth, that structure takes its hold. Does not need leg and it does not need wings, but due to control of its position, it floats and exists in this environment. It's highly intelligent, more than man, more than what we call 4-legged things or horizontal animals, is more intelligent than the vertical ones. But the existence of life does not finish here. The existence of life goes beyond Earth in the ocean of the solar system fields and in the ocean of the galaxies. And the same process. As each area creates a condition, the interaction of the fields leads to creation of life. Life being known as being able to decide in what one needs to exist in the environment is given. This is how we are and we become part of universal community. We always have been. The creatures above us have always been, and the creatures outside us have always been. It's the man who has been blind to the knowledge of the existence of the others. It's very much like some 500 years ago. The continent of America was always there. It was the man for the first time rediscovered what it lost as part of itself, and he called it the new continent, the new world. The life above man and above this planet and within the galaxy has always been there. Now that we added to the knowledge, we are aware of their existence. In a way, we are going into the continent of the universe. The way we went to the continent of the United States. The continent of America. What we call native Indians had the full knowledge, full culture. They had their own social structure. They didn't need a man from Europe or the West, what they called themselves, other continents, to teach them. We learned a lot from them. We eat the food of the new continent. Pepper, tomatoes, potatoes, pineapple. So now, by going into the expansion of the universe, we'll find new fruits, we'll find new friends. More intelligent because they work on a different dimension. Highly intellectual, as the man has limited his intellect to intellectual rights, to control himself. in space, there are no patent office, and there are no intellectual right copies, the way the foundation works. What happened when you put this structure of different elements of the strength of the universe, does not matter what you call it, and you create life? The life is precious and has to be respected. Life is not food to be absorbed and be eaten, the way man has done on this planet. On this planet, we have protection systems. We call them sensors. We call them our 5 senses.